The silk sheets felt wrong against Arya's skin. She opened her eyes to unfamiliar darkness, her head pounding like someone had used her skull for target practice. The room smelled of cedarwood and something wild, wolf, but not just any wolf. This scent made her Omega instincts curl up tight and whimper. Arya sat up fast. Too fast. Her stomach lurched, and she pressed a hand to her mouth, willing herself not to be sick on sheets that probably cost more than she made in a year. That's when she felt it. The burn on her inner thigh. She threw back the covers and looked down. Even in the dim light filtering through heavy curtains, she could see it clearly, a mark, raised and silver against her pale skin. The royal crest of the Blood Moon Pack. An Alpha King's mating mark. No. The word came out strangled. No, no, no. Her hands shook as she touched the mark. It was real. Permanent. The kind of bond that couldn't be broken, that tied an Omega to an Alpha for life. Panic clawed up her throat. She looked around the room, really seeing it now. The massive four-poster bed. The weapons mounted on the walls. The crown sitting on a side table, casual as a forgotten coffee cup. She was in his chambers. King Daemon Blackwood's private rooms. Arya scrambled out of bed, realized she was naked, and grabbed for her clothes. They weren't there. Instead, she found a torn server's uniform on the floor. Hers, she recognized the small wine stain on the collar. And a black cloak she'd never seen before. Memories came in flashes, none of them complete. The Harvest Moon ball last night. She'd been serving wine to the high-ranking wolves, staying invisible the way Omegas learned to do. Then, what? Someone had handed her a glass. Told her to drink. The ballroom had started spinning. Strong hands catching her. A voice like gravel and honey saying something she couldn't quite remember. Golden eyes. Heat that burned through her from the inside out. She pressed her palms against her temples, trying to force the memories into focus, but they stayed fractured. Broken. What had she done? Voices outside the door made her freeze. Furious, one of the guards was saying. I've never seen him like this. An intruder in the king's own bed, another responded. Someone's going to die for this breach. The king said he doesn't remember bringing anyone to his chambers. Said he woke up alone, but the scent. Omega. I know. Whole room reeks of it. Arya's blood turned to ice. He didn't remember. He didn't remember, and they were calling her an intruder. Not a guest. Not someone invited. An intruder. She looked down at the mating mark again. You couldn't fake these. They only appeared during a true mating bond, when an Alpha claimed an Omega during their heat. But she didn't go into heat. She was on suppressants, had been for years. And she'd never consent to being claimed by anyone, let alone the Alpha King. Someone had set this up. But who would do this? And why use her? She was nobody. A low-ranking Omega from the servant class, barely worth noticing. She had no family, no connections, nothing that would make her valuable as a pawn in whatever game this was. The voices outside grew louder. They were coming in. Arya moved fast. She yanked on her torn uniform, wrapped the cloak around herself, and looked for another way out. There, a servant's entrance hidden behind a tapestry. She'd cleaned enough noble chambers to know they all had them. Places for servants to come and go without being seen. She slipped through just as she heard the main doors open. Search every corner, someone commanded. The king wants whoever violated his chambers found. Now. Arya ran. The servant passages were narrow and dark, lit only by occasional torches. She knew them well, had spent 3 years navigating these corridors, invisible to the wolves who mattered. Now that invisibility might save her life. She kept the cloak tight around her, masking her scent as much as possible. The mark on her thigh throbbed with every step, like it was trying to call out to him. To its mate. No. He wasn't her mate. This wasn't real. This was a setup, a trap, and she'd stumbled right into it. Arya made it back to the servants' quarters without being seen. Her small room was barely bigger than a closet, but it was hers, and right now it felt safer than anywhere else in the palace. She locked the door, peeled off the cloak, and looked at the mark again. It hadn't been a nightmare. Still there. Still silver. Still binding her to a man who didn't even remember claiming her. She needed to think. Needed to figure out who did this and why. Needed to find a way to break a bond that everyone said couldn't be broken. But first, she needed to sleep. Her body felt like it had been run over by a truck, every muscle aching, her head still pounding. She crawled into her narrow bed and pulled the thin blanket over her head, as if that could block out everything that had happened. It couldn't. 3 weeks later, Arya was on her knees in the servants' bathroom, retching into the toilet for the 4th morning in a row. "You need to see the healer," her roommate Mari said from the doorway, worry creasing her face. "I'm fine," Arya lied, wiping her mouth. "Just a stomach bug." "For 3 weeks?" Arya didn't answer. She couldn't tell Mari the truth. Couldn't tell anyone about that night, about the mark she kept hidden under long skirts, about the fact that she'd been claimed by the Alpha King himself and then forgotten like she'd never existed. But when she retched again, so violently she saw stars, Mari made the decision for her. "I'm taking you to the healer. Now." The palace healer was an older woman named Corinne who'd seen everything twice. She took one look at Arya, one sniff of her scent, and her expression went carefully blank. "Everyone out," Corinne said quietly. Mari hesitated, then left, closing the door behind her. Corinne gestured for Arya to sit. "How long since your last heat?" "I don't get heats. I'm on suppressants." "When did you last take them?" Arya thought back. The night of the ball, she'd taken her daily dose in the morning, like always. 3 weeks ago. Corinne's mouth tightened. She pressed her hands against Arya's abdomen, closed her eyes, and went very still. When she opened them again, Arya knew. She knew before the healer said a word. "You're pregnant," Corinne said. "About 3 weeks along." The room tilted. Arya gripped the edge of the examination table, her knuckles going white. "That's not possible. I'm on suppressants. I can't." "Someone gave you something stronger than suppressants," Corinne interrupted. "Something that triggered a forced heat. And recently, someone with very powerful bloodlines mated with you." Her eyes dropped to where Arya's skirt covered her thigh. "I can smell the royal line on you, girl." "What did you do?" "I didn't do anything," Arya whispered. "I didn't do anything." But she was carrying the Alpha King's child. A child conceived during a mating she didn't consent to, didn't remember, couldn't explain. And when he found out, when anyone found out, she was dead. Chapter 2. Dante Blackthorne hadn't slept in 3 weeks. He stood at the window of his study, watching the sun rise over the blood moon territory for the 21st morning in a row, his reflection a ghost in the glass. Dark circles under his eyes. Jaw tight with tension. His wolf prowling just beneath his skin, snarling and snapping at the cage of his control. Find her. Find mate. Find her. Shut up, Dante muttered. His wolf didn't listen. It never did anymore. Not since that night. Not since he'd woken up in his own bed with the scent of jasmine and something uniquely hers clinging to his sheets, a mating mark on his palm that he didn't remember giving, and a hole in his memory the size of the Grand Canyon. He'd been drugged. The palace physician confirmed it. Someone had slipped him something strong enough to knock out an Alpha King, something that would have killed a weaker wolf. But it hadn't killed him. It had just stolen 6 hours of his life. 6 hours during which he'd apparently found his fated mate and claimed her. And then she'd vanished like smoke. Your Majesty. Dante didn't turn. He knew Marcus's voice, his beta's steady presence at the door. What did you find? Nothing good. Marcus came to stand beside him, careful not to crowd. They'd known each other since they were kids, had fought together, bled together. Marcus knew when to give him space. The security footage from the Harvest Moon Ball is corrupted. All of it. Every camera, every angle, from midnight to dawn, gone. That's not an accident. No, it's not. Marcus handed him a slim folder. But I did find something. A servant who hasn't reported to work since that night. Aria Montgomery. Low-ranking Omega, been working in the palace for 3 years. No family on record, no disciplinary issues. Model employee. Dante took the folder, flipped it open. The photo inside showed a young woman with dark hair pulled back in a severe bun, gray eyes downcast, wearing the standard servant's uniform. Pretty in a quiet way that wouldn't draw attention. Exactly the kind of person who could move through the palace unseen. His wolf surged forward, recognition slamming through him like a fist to the chest. Her. Ours. Find her now. The folder crumpled in Dante's grip. Where is she? That's the problem. She's gone. Cleared out her room the morning after the ball, hasn't been seen since. Marcus paused. She's not in the palace database anymore either. Someone wiped her records. Someone's protecting her. Dante's voice came out rough, barely controlled. Or someone's covering their tracks. Both, maybe. Dante turned from the window, his wolf's rage making his eyes flash gold. 3 weeks. She'd been gone 3 weeks, and every day that passed made his wolf more unstable, more desperate. The mating bond pulled at him constantly, an invisible thread leading nowhere, its other end lost in the void. He'd never wanted a mate. Never wanted the vulnerability, the weakness. He'd built his reputation on being untouchable, unmated, unavailable. The strongest alpha king in 3 generations, bound to no one. And then some slip of an Omega had walked into his life for 6 stolen hours and changed everything. Issue a kingdom-wide hunt, Dante said. I want every scent tracker we have on this. Offer a reward, 500,000 to whoever finds her. Marcus's eyebrows shot up. That's. I don't care what it costs. Dante threw the folder on his desk. She's out there somewhere, and I'm going to find her. And when you do? Good question. What did you do with a mate who ran from you? Who'd been in your bed, taken your mark, carried your scent, and then disappeared without a word? You found out why. That's between me and her, Dante said. Marcus nodded, started for the door, then stopped. Your Majesty, there's one more thing. Lady Seraphina has requested an audience. 3rd time this week. Dante's jaw tightened. Seraphina Ashwood. His arranged fiancée. The daughter of the Northern Pax Alpha, a political alliance 20 years in the making. Beautiful, accomplished, and cold as ice. And absolutely not his mate. Tell her I'm busy. I've been telling her that. She's not taking no for an answer. Of course she wasn't. Seraphina didn't take no for an answer about anything. It was one of the many reasons their engagement was a business arrangement and nothing more. Fine. Send her in. Marcus left. Dante poured himself a drink he didn't want and tried to look like a man who hadn't been slowly losing his mind for 3 weeks. Seraphina swept in 5 minutes later, all long blonde hair and designer clothes, her heels clicking on the marble floor like little gunshots. She was beautiful the way a sword was beautiful, sharp and dangerous and meant to cut. Dante. She didn't wait for permission to sit, just arranged herself in the chair across from his desk like she owned it. We need to talk. About? About whatever's been making you impossible to deal with for the past month. Her green eyes narrowed. You've cancelled every wedding planning meeting, avoided every social event, and according to Marcus, you've put a bounty on some servant girl. So I'll ask once, what's going on? Dante took a drink, buying time. Serafina was smart. Too smart. If he told her about the mating mark, about the bond pulling him apart from the inside, she'd know their engagement was over before it began. No wolf could deny a fated mate bond. It was biological law. But he needed the Northern Alliance. His kingdom needed it. And until he found Arya, until he understood what happened that night, he couldn't afford to burn that bridge. Palace security issue, he said. Nothing that concerns you. A $500,000 security issue? The details are classified. Serafina stood, her expression hardening. Don't lie to me, Dante. I'm not some simpering Omega you can dismiss. I'm your future queen, and I deserve to know what's threatening our engagement. Nothing's threatening our engagement. Then why do you smell like you're going feral? She moved closer, her wolf rising to test his. Your control is slipping. Every wolf in the palace can sense it. And if you think I don't know what that means. Careful, Serafina. His voice dropped to a growl, his wolf rising to meet her challenge. You're not my queen yet. They stared at each other, two predators locked in a battle of wills. Finally, Serafina stepped back, her smile razor-thin. Find your servant girl, she said quietly. Figure out whatever this is. But know this, I've invested 20 years in this alliance. I won't let some nobody Omega destroy it because you couldn't keep your instincts in check. She headed for the door, paused. And Dante? If she's carrying your child, you'd better hope I find her first. The door closed behind her with a soft click. Dante drained his glass in one swallow, his wolf snarling in his head. Serafina's threat wasn't empty. She had resources, connections, and absolutely no mercy when it came to protecting what she considered hers. He needed to find Arya first. Before Serafina did. 300 miles away, in a ramshackle motel on the Shadowpine border, Arya Montgomery was discovering that running for your life was expensive. She counted the bills spread on the sagging bed for the third time, hoping the amount would magically increase. It didn't. $243. Everything she'd had in her savings, everything she'd grabbed before fleeing the palace. Not enough. Not nearly enough. The burner phone on the nightstand buzzed. Arya grabbed it, her heart hammering. Kyle's fever is worse. Doctor says he needs the treatment now or... Arya didn't read the rest. She couldn't. She threw the phone on the bed and pressed her hands against her face, trying not to scream. Kyle. Her baby brother. 16 years old and sick with something the doctors said would kill him without treatment that cost more than she'd make in 5 years. She'd left him with a trusted friend in the next town over, promised she'd get the money, promised she'd save him. She'd lied. Because she had nothing. No job. No references. No way to make that kind of money honestly, not when she was using a fake name, hiding in a border town, and trying to avoid the kingdom-wide manhunt she'd heard about on the news. The Alpha King was looking for her. Offering a reward that made her $243 look like pocket change. She could turn herself in. Collect the reward. Save Kyle. And then what? Face a man who'd marked her without consent? Whose child was growing inside her? Who had the power to destroy her with a word? No. She couldn't do that. Couldn't risk it. But Kyle was dying. Arya looked at herself in the cracked motel mirror. She'd cut her hair short, dyed it blonde, wore colored contacts that turned her gray eyes brown. She looked like someone else. Some hard-faced woman who'd lived a life, lost things, learned to survive. She looked like a widow, which was exactly what she was pretending to be. The story she'd told the motel clerk, the story she told anyone who asked. Her husband died in a border skirmish. She was heading south to stay with family, just passing through. Keep it simple. Keep it forgettable. But the story didn't pay Kyle's medical bills. A knock on the door made her freeze. She hadn't ordered anything. Hadn't told anyone where she was. Her hand went to the small knife she kept under her pillow, not much of a weapon, but better than nothing. Ms. Winters? A male voice, unfamiliar. I have information about your situation. Her situation. Which one? The dying brother or the homicidal fiancé of the Alpha King probably hunting her down? I don't know what you're talking about, she called back. Your brother Kyle. I know what he needs. I can help. Arya's blood turned cold. No one knew about Kyle. No one should know that name. She grabbed the knife and opened the door a crack, keeping the chain lock engaged. The man outside was ordinary in every way. Average height, average build, forgettable face. The kind of person who could disappear in a crowd. He smiled, and it didn't reach his eyes. My employer heard about your predicament, he said. He's willing to help. I don't need help from strangers. Your brother needs treatment that costs $400,000. You have 243. I'd say you need help very badly. The knife felt useless in her hand. What do you want? Information. You worked in the Blood Moon Palace for 3 years. You know things, guard rotations, security protocols, the king's personal schedule. He pulled out a business card, slid it through the gap in the door. My employer will pay handsomely for those details. Enough to save your brother and set you up somewhere safe. Somewhere the king will never find you. Arya stared at the card. No name. Just a phone number. That's treason. That's survival. The man's smile widened. You have 24 hours to decide. After that, we'll find someone else to help. And your brother will die. He walked away before she could respond, disappearing around the corner like he'd never been there at all. Arya closed the door, locked it, slid down to sit on the floor with her back against the wood. The business card felt heavy in her hand, like it weighed more than paper should. Information about the palace. Security details. The king's schedule. She knew all of it. 3 years of being invisible had taught her everything. Where the blind spots were in the camera system. Which guards slept on duty. When the king took his morning run through the private gardens, alone and unprotected. Information that could get him killed. Information that could save Kyle. The phone buzzed again. Another message from Kyle's caretaker. Please. He's asking for you. He's so scared. Arya closed her eyes and felt the baby flutter in her belly, barely there, barely real, but alive. The king's child. The child of a man she didn't know, couldn't remember, who'd marked her and forgotten her like she was nothing. She had 2 lives depending on her now. Kyle, who'd been there for her always, who was her only real family. And this baby, who hadn't asked to be conceived but existed anyway, innocent of everything. How did you choose between them? The card sat in her palm. 1 phone call. 1 meeting. Information traded for money, for Kyle's life, for a chance to disappear completely. The king would never know. He'd never know she was the one who betrayed him. Except she'd know. Arya stood up, walked to the bed, picked up the burner phone. Her hands shook as she dialed the number on the card. It rang once. I need guarantees, she said when someone answered. My brother gets the treatment first. Full payment up front. And I need papers, new identity, transport out of the country, protection. Done. The voice on the other end was smooth, professional. Meet us tomorrow night. The abandoned factory on Route 9, midnight. Come alone. How do I know this isn't a trap? You don't. But you're out of options, Ms. Montgomery. Or should I call you Arya? The line went dead. Arya dropped the phone like it had burned her. They knew her real name. They'd known all along. She was already caught in the trap. The only question was whether she'd spring it herself or wait for it to snap shut around her. Kyle's face flashed through her mind. 16 years old. Bright smile. Terrible jokes. The only person who'd ever really loved her. She'd do anything to save him. Even betray a king. Even damn herself. Arya looked at the mating mark on her thigh, still silver, still binding her to a man she'd never really met. Tomorrow night, she'd sell information that might get him killed. And if he died, this bond would die with him, freeing her forever. It was the smart choice. The only choice. So why did her wolf whimper in protest? Why did the mark burn like it knew what she was planning? She pulled on her jacket, grabbed her bag. 24 hours until the meet. 24 hours to decide if she was really going to do this. 24 hours to become a traitor. Outside, the sun was setting, painting the sky blood red. Arya watched it sink below the horizon and wondered if this was what the end of everything looked like. Beautiful and terrible and final. She was about to find out. Chapter 3. The scent stopped at the border. Dante stood in the rain at the edge of Shadowpine territory, his best tracker crouched beside him, studying the muddy ground like it held the secrets of the universe. Behind them, 6 more wolves waited in silence, knowing better than to speak when their king wore that expression. The expression of a man slowly going insane. Here. Marcus pointed to a set of footprints, already half erased by the downpour. 4 weeks old, maybe 5. Female, lightweight. Heading south. Is it her? Dante's voice came out rough. He'd barely spoken in the 3 days since they'd picked up the trail outside the capital. Barely eaten. Barely slept. His wolf was a constant snarl in his head, driving him forward, forward, forward. Mate. Close. So close. Marcus hesitated. The scent is wrong. Faded, like she's masking it. But underneath, yeah. I think it's her. Dante closed his eyes and breathed in deep, searching for that thread of jasmine and something uniquely hers that had haunted him for over a month. There, so faint he might have imagined it, but there. A ghost of what he remembered. His wolf surged, nearly breaking free. Dante's hands curled into fists, claws extending before he forced them back. She crossed into Shadowpine lands, Marcus continued. After that, the trail goes cold. Could be the rain. Could be she found a way to completely hide her scent. Or she had help. Dante opened his eyes, staring at the tree line ahead. Shadowpine territory. Borderlands that belonged to no pack, full of rogues and criminals and wolves who'd rather die than bend a knee to any alpha. The perfect place to disappear. Your Majesty, the Shadowpine clans don't take kindly to royal wolves on their land, Marcus said carefully. If we cross that border with a full unit, then I'll cross it alone. That's suicide. Dante looked at his beta, his oldest friend, and saw the worry there. Saw the fear. Not for himself, but for Dante. For what this obsession was doing to him. I have to find her, Marcus. My wolf, he stopped, the words caught in his throat. How did you explain that your other half was tearing you apart from the inside? That every day without her was like bleeding out slowly, the wound never closing? She's my true mate. Not chosen, not arranged. Fated. Marcus went pale. Shit. Yeah. Does Serafina know? She suspects. Dante ran a hand through his wet hair. She's been asking questions, making threats. It's only a matter of time before she figures it out completely. And when she does? They both knew the answer. Serafina Ashwood didn't share. Didn't lose. If she discovered that Dante's true mate was alive somewhere, she'd eliminate the problem. Permanently. Which meant Dante had to find Arya first. I'm going in, he said. Keep the unit here. If I'm not back in 3 days. I'm coming with you. Marcus. You're not doing this alone. You're my king, but you're also my brother. Marcus's jaw set in that stubborn line Dante knew too well. Besides, someone needs to keep you from doing something stupidly noble like getting yourself killed for a woman you don't even know. Dante almost smiled. Almost. She's not just a woman. I know. That's what worries me. They crossed the border at dusk, leaving their unit behind with orders to maintain position. Shadowpine territory was dense forest and rough terrain, dotted with small settlements that existed outside pack law. Dangerous, lawless, and exactly where a runaway Omega would go to hide. The first village they checked had never heard of Arya Montgomery. Neither had the second. Or the third. For weeks of searching, for weeks of dead ends and false leads and a mating bond that pulled him in circles because she was masking her scent so well he couldn't lock onto her. She didn't want to be found. That truth ate at him. His mate was running from him, hiding from him, and he didn't even know why. What had happened that night? What had he done in those stolen 6 hours that would make her flee? Or what had someone else done to her? That thought was worse. The idea that she wasn't running from him but from whoever had drugged them both, whoever had set them up. The idea that she might be scared, alone, in danger. Pregnant with his child. He knew. The palace physician had confirmed it before he left. If the mating bond was genuine, if she'd conceived during their time together, then she'd be about 4 months along by now. Showing. Vulnerable. His wolf howled at the thought. On the 5th day in Shadowpine, they found the tavern. It was a shabby place called the Rusty Nail, perched on the edge of a settlement too small to have a name. The kind of establishment that asked no questions and remembered no faces. Perfect for someone trying to disappear. You sure about this? Marcus asked as they approached the door. Dante wasn't sure about anything anymore. But his wolf was pacing, alert in a way it hadn't been since they crossed the border. Something was here. Something important. Let's find out. The inside of the Rusty Nail smelled like stale beer and desperation. A handful of wolves sat at scattered tables, their conversations dying when Dante walked in. He didn't bother hiding what he was, an alpha, powerful enough that every wolf in the room felt it like a weight on their chests. The bartender, a grizzled male missing an eye, studied them with the wariness of someone who'd survived by knowing when to run. We don't want trouble, he said. Neither do I. Dante approached the bar. I'm looking for someone. Young woman, dark hair, gray eyes. Might be using a false name. Lot of people using false names around here. That's kind of the point. Dante pulled out a roll of bills, laid them on the bar. Her scent is like jasmine. She would have arrived about 4 weeks ago. Alone. The bartender's good eye flicked to the money, then to the back room. Just for a second, but Dante caught it. Someone was here. His wolf surged, nearly breaking free. Dante's hand gripped the bar hard enough to crack the wood, his control splintering. Mate. Here. Find her. Look, the bartender said, snatching the money, I don't know what you're talking about. We get drifters through here all the time. Can't remember every face. Liar. But pushing would only make things worse. These border wolves protected their own, even strangers, because tomorrow they might need that same protection. Dante forced himself to step back. If you see her, tell her someone's looking for her. Someone who means her no harm. Sure. Whatever. They left the tavern, but Dante didn't go far. He circled around to the back, Marcus following silently. There, a cellar door, half hidden behind empty crates. She's down there, Dante said quietly. I can feel it. You sure that's not just wishful thinking? Maybe it was. But his wolf was howling, clawing at his control, desperate to get to whatever was in that cellar. And Dante had learned to trust his wolf's instincts, even when they made no logical sense. He was reaching for the cellar door when he smelled it. Wolfsbane. Not fresh, old, worked into fabric or skin, a scent-masking technique he'd heard of but never seen used. Dangerous as hell, especially for pregnant wolves. The herb could cause miscarriages, birth defects, slow poisoning. His mate was poisoning herself to hide from him. The realization hit like a physical blow. She was that desperate. That terrified. What did I do to her? Your Majesty. Marcus's voice was tight, urgent. We've got company. Dante turned. 3 wolves had materialized from the tree line, armed and wearing the red band of the Fang Rebellion. The group that had been causing problems at the borders for months, preaching about overthrowing the old pack structures, ending Alpha rule. The group Dante had been hunting. Alpha King. The lead wolf smiled, showing too many teeth. Long way from your palace. Move aside. Or what? You'll kill us on Shadowpine land, start a war? The wolf laughed. We know why you're here. Heard about your little hunt. The $500,000 reward for one missing Omega. She must be real special. Dante's claws extended. Last warning. Tell you what, we'll make you a deal. You go back to your kingdom, call off the search, and we won't kill the pretty little thing hiding in that cellar. The wolf's smile widened. See, we've been watching this place. Watching her. Sweet little Lila, working hard, trying to stay invisible. Got a real nice figure on her now, all soft and round. Wonder what she's hiding under those baggy clothes. The world went red. Dante moved faster than thought, his wolf taking over. The lead wolf didn't even have time to scream before Dante's jaws closed around his throat. The other 2 tried to run. Marcus caught one. The other made it 3 steps before Dante ran him down. It was over in seconds. Dante stood in the carnage, blood on his hands, his wolf finally quiet. Satisfied. Dante. Marcus's voice came from far away. Dante, we need to go. Now. That was messy, and we're on hostile territory. He was right. Killing Fang Rebellion wolves on Shadowpine land would have consequences. But Dante couldn't bring himself to care. They'd threatened his mate. His pregnant mate. He moved to the cellar door, ripped it open. Arya. His voice echoed in the darkness. Arya, I know you're down there. I'm not going to hurt you. I just want to talk. Silence. He started down the stairs, Marcus behind him. The cellar was small, crowded with crates and barrels. Empty. No. Not empty. There, a scrap of fabric caught on a nail. Dark blue, the same color as the tavern uniform the server had been wearing. She'd been here. Recently. Her scent was all over this place, masked by wolfsbane but unmistakable underneath. And then she'd run again. Dante picked up the fabric, brought it to his face. Jasmine and something else, something new. Milk and warmth and baby. Our baby. His wolf whimpered, a sound of pure longing. She was here, he said quietly. Pregnant. Working under a false name. Dante. She's terrified of me, Marcus. Poisoning herself with wolfsbane to hide. Running every time I get close. And I don't even know why. He crushed the fabric in his fist. What happened that night? What did I do? Marcus didn't answer. Because there was no answer. Just 6 stolen hours and a mystery that was destroying them both. They left through the back, avoiding the tavern entirely. The rebellion wolves' bodies would be found soon, and when they were, Shadowpine would explode. Dante had just started a war. But he'd do it again in a heartbeat to protect her. Wherever she was. Arya crouched in the drainage tunnel half a mile from the tavern, her heart still hammering, her hands shaking so badly she could barely grip the small bag of her belongings. He'd been so close. She'd heard his voice through the cellar door, felt the pull of the mating bond like a hook in her chest, dragging her toward him. Her wolf had whined, desperate to go to him, to their mate. But then she'd remembered the blood. The bodies. The way he'd torn through those rebellion wolves like they were nothing. That was what he was. The Alpha King. The most powerful wolf in the kingdom. Lethal and dangerous and terrifying. And she was carrying his child. Arya pressed a hand to her stomach, feeling the swell there. 4 months. Definitely showing now, no matter how baggy she wore her clothes. The baby kicked sometimes, little flutters that reminded her this was real. Not a nightmare. Not something she could run from forever. The wolfsbane was making her sick. She knew that. Knew it was dangerous for the baby. But it was the only thing keeping her hidden, keeping him from finding her. Keeping her alive. Because it wasn't just him hunting her anymore. 3 days ago, Silas Corvain had found her. The broker she'd sold palace information to, the man who'd paid for Kyle's treatment in exchange for security details that could get the king killed. Except Silas wasn't just a broker. He was the leader of the Fong Rebellion. And when he'd discovered her pregnancy, when he'd figured out who the father was, his whole demeanor had changed. "You're carrying the king's heir," he'd said, smiling like he'd won the lottery. "Do you have any idea what you're worth?" She'd run. Again. But Silas's wolves were everywhere now, watching, waiting. She couldn't stay in Shadowpine. Couldn't go back to the capital. Couldn't go anywhere without someone finding her. The baby kicked again. Stronger this time. "I'm sorry," Arya whispered, pressing both hands to her stomach. "I'm so sorry. I don't know how to keep you safe." A sound behind her made her freeze. Footsteps. Multiple sets. She scrambled deeper into the tunnel, but it was a dead end. Nowhere to go. Nowhere to run. The footsteps stopped at the entrance. "Lila." Silas's voice. Smooth and cold. "Or should I call you Arya? Come out. We have business to discuss." "I gave you what you wanted," she called back, her voice shaking. "We're done." "Oh, sweetheart. We're just getting started." He appeared at the tunnel entrance, backlit by the setting sun. "You see, I've been thinking. The king is looking for you. Really, desperately looking for you. And I have you. Do you know what that makes you? Let me go. Leverage. The ultimate leverage." Silas stepped closer. "I'm going to use you to bring him down. Use you and that royal bastard in your belly to destroy everything he's built. And you're going to help me." "No. You don't have a choice." He grabbed her arm, hauling her out of the tunnel. 3 more wolves waited outside, all wearing the rebellion's red band. "You sold him out once. You'll do it again. And this time, you'll watch him die." Arya struggled, but she was outnumbered and weakened from the wolfsbane. They dragged her toward a waiting van, and she knew if she got in that vehicle, she'd never get out. The explosion came from nowhere. 1 second they were walking, the next the ground erupted in fire and debris. The blast threw Arya backward, her head cracking against something hard. The world went white, then dark, then red with flames. The tavern was burning. The whole building, engulfed in fire so hot she could feel it from here. "Assassins!" One of Silas's wolves shouted. "Someone set charges." Arya tried to move, but her legs wouldn't work. Her head spun, her vision blurred. She could smell blood. Her own blood. Through the smoke and chaos, she saw a figure running toward the burning building. Tall, broad-shouldered, moving with the deadly grace of a predator. Dante. He was shouting something, searching the rubble. For her. He thought she was in there, thought she was burning. "I should call out. Should let him know I'm alive." But Silas's wolves were grabbing her again, dragging her toward the van. And even through the pain and fear, Arya knew the truth: the explosion wasn't random. Someone had tried to kill her. Someone who knew she was the king's mate and wanted her dead before he could claim her. Lady Seraphina Ashwood. The name hit her like a second explosion. The king's fiancée. The woman whose engagement Arya had destroyed just by existing. Arya was being dragged away when she saw Dante pull someone from the flames. A cloaked figure, small and limp. He thought it was her. Was holding the body like it was precious, like it was his whole world. She wanted to scream, to tell him it wasn't her, but Silas's hand clamped over her mouth. "Congratulations," Silas whispered in her ear. "You just became a ghost. And now the real fun begins." They threw her in the van. The doors slammed shut. And through the small window, she watched Dante cradle the wrong body, watched him howl with a grief that echoed through the night. He thought she was dead. And maybe that was better. Safer. Because if he thought she was gone, he'd stop looking. Stop hunting. Stop putting himself in danger. The baby kicked hard, like it was protesting. Arya closed her eyes and let the darkness take her, praying that wherever they were taking her, it would at least keep her child alive. Even if she didn't survive. The van pulled away from the burning tavern, from the king mourning a corpse that wasn't hers, from the life she'd almost had. And Arya Montgomery disappeared into the night one final time. Chapter 4. Arya woke to the smell of earth and stone, her head pounding like someone had used it for a drum. She tried to move and discovered her hands were bound behind her back, rough rope biting into her wrists. The ground beneath her was cold, hard-packed dirt. Wherever she was, it wasn't the van. She forced her eyes open. A cell. Small, windowless, lit by a single bare bulb hanging from the ceiling. Stone walls slick with moisture. A heavy wooden door with no handle on the inside. A prison. Finally awake. Silas Corvain sat in the corner, watching her with the patience of a spider waiting for its prey to stop struggling. "You've been out for 8 hours. I was beginning to worry." Arya's hand went to her stomach, as much as the ropes would allow. The baby kicked, weak but there. Alive. "Where am I?" "Somewhere safe. Somewhere your king will never find you." Silas stood, moved closer. In the better light, she could see him clearly for the first time. Mid-40s, dark hair shot through with gray, eyes the color of old ice. He looked like someone who'd smile while cutting your throat. "Welcome to the Fong Rebellion's home base. We've been building this place for 5 years, right under the Alpha King's nose. Appropriate, don't you think? That his mate would be imprisoned in the one place he's been trying to destroy?" "I'm not his mate." The lie tasted bitter. "We're not bonded." "Really?" Silas grabbed her arm, pushed up her sleeve to reveal the mating mark on her inner wrist, a second one she hadn't known was there, smaller than the one on her thigh but just as silver, just as permanent. "Your body says otherwise. His scent is all over you, even through the wolfsbane. And that child you're carrying? Pure royal bloodline. I can smell it." Arya jerked her arm back. "What do you want?" "Simple. I want the king to abdicate. Step down from the throne, dismantle the old pack structure, and let the rebellion rebuild this kingdom the way it should have been built centuries ago." He crouched in front of her, his smile cold. "And you're going to help me convince him?" "He won't step down. Not for me. He doesn't even know me. He will when I tell him I have his pregnant mate and his unborn heir. He'll do anything to get you back. Including surrender his crown." Silas tilted his head. "Unless you think he'd let you and his child die? Is that the kind of mate he is?" Arya wanted to say yes. Wanted to believe that Dante Blackthorne was as cold and ruthless as his reputation suggested, that he'd sacrifice her and the baby for his throne without a second thought. But she'd seen his face at the burning tavern. Seen him pull that body from the flames like it was everything. Heard his howl of grief echo through the night. He'd thought she was dead, and it had broken something in him. "I won't be your pawn," she said. You already are, sweetheart. You were a pawn the moment Mara drugged your wine. The name hit like a slap. What? Mara Chen. Your best friend, or so you thought. Silas pulled out a tablet, tapped the screen, and held it up. Security footage, grainy but clear enough. The Harvest Moon Ball. Arya in her server's uniform, carrying a tray of wine glasses. And Mara. Sweet, loyal Mara who'd been her roommate for 2 years, slipping something into one of the glasses before handing it to Arya with a smile. No. Arya's voice came out strangled. That's not, she wouldn't. She did. Dosed your wine with enough heat-inducing drugs to send you into a breeding frenzy. Then she made sure you were near the king when it hit. Made sure his wine was spiked too. Silas swiped to another video. Mara, leading a stumbling Arya through the palace corridors while Dante followed behind them, his eyes glazed, his movements uncoordinated. She set you both up. Wanted to frame you, ruin your life. Thought if you were caught in the king's bed, you'd be executed for treason. The room spun. Why would she? Jealousy. You got the position she wanted, the life she thought she deserved. So she decided to destroy you. He paused. Except it didn't work quite the way she planned. You didn't get executed. You got claimed. And when you ran instead of reporting it, when you disappeared with the king's child, you became something far more valuable than she could have imagined. Arya couldn't breathe. Mara. Her best friend. The person she'd trusted most in the world had drugged her, set her up, tried to get her killed. Where is she now? Dead. The king found out about her involvement, and well. Silas shrugged. He's not known for his mercy. Especially not when it comes to threats to his mate. Good. The thought came unbidden, vicious. Good. She hoped it hurt. Hoped Mara died screaming. The violence of her own thoughts shocked her. But beneath the shock was rage, hot and righteous. Everything she'd been through, the fear, the running, the poisoning herself with wolfsbane, the loneliness, all of it because someone she'd trusted had betrayed her. The baby kicked hard, and Arya gasped. Pain shot through her abdomen, sharp and wrong. What's wrong? Silas moved closer. Nothing. I'm fine. But she wasn't. The cramping was getting worse, radiating from her stomach down through her legs. Too early. This was too early. You're bleeding. Arya looked down. He was right. Blood, dark and damning, spreading across her pants. The wolfsbane. Months of poisoning herself, of destroying her body to stay hidden, was finally taking its toll. Not on her. On the baby. I need a doctor, she gasped. Please. The baby. We have a medic. She'll take care of you. Silas stood, headed for the door. But understand this, you and that child live as long as you're useful to me. The moment the king refuses my demands, you both become expendable. He left, the door slamming shut behind him. Arya doubled over, the pain intensifying. 6 months pregnant. The baby wasn't ready. Couldn't survive if it came now. She needed a hospital, real medical care, not whatever butcher Silas called a medic. She needed Dante. The thought came from somewhere deep, somewhere primal. Her wolf whining, calling for its mate. The mating bond pulling tight, trying to reach across the distance between them. Help us. Please. Our baby. But Dante thought she was dead. He'd stopped looking. Stopped hoping. And even if he knew she was alive, how would he find her? Silas had built this place to be invisible, undetectable. She was in a cell with no windows, no landmarks, nothing that could tell her where she was. She was going to lose this baby. Going to watch her child die because she'd been too afraid, too stubborn, too broken to ask for help when she'd needed it. The door opened. A woman entered, older, with hard eyes and harder hands. She carried a medical bag that looked like it had seen better decades. "Let's see what we're working with," the woman said, kneeling beside Arya. Her examination was rough, clinical, devoid of comfort. When she finished, her expression was grim. "Wolfsbane poisoning. Severe. The baby's in distress. You need a C-section. Now. It's too early. It's that or you both die. Choose." Arya closed her eyes. 6 months. The baby had a chance, but a small one. Premature wolves were fragile, often didn't survive. But if she waited, if she refused, they'd both be dead within hours. "Do it," she whispered. "Can't. Not here. I don't have the equipment, the sterile environment. You need a hospital. Then take me to one." Silas's orders. "You don't leave this compound." The woman packed up her bag. "I'll try to stabilize you with medication, buy you some time. But unless something changes, that baby's coming whether you're ready or not." She left, promising to return with 4 fluids and drugs Arya didn't recognize the names of. The door locked behind her. Arya lay on the cold floor, her hands on her stomach, and cried. Great, shaking sobs that tore through her chest. She'd been so careful, so cautious. Thought she was protecting her child by staying hidden. Instead, she'd been killing them both slowly. "I'm sorry," she whispered to the life inside her. "I'm so sorry. I didn't know how to keep you safe. Didn't know what to do." The baby kicked weakly, a flutter like butterfly wings. And then the contractions started. 300 miles away, Dante Blackthorne stood in front of his council and felt nothing. They'd been talking for 20 minutes. He heard the words. Concerns about his fitness to rule, questions about his mental state, proposals for emergency succession plans, but they meant nothing. Nothing meant anything anymore. She was dead. He'd held her body in his arms. Felt the heat of the flames, the weight of her burned flesh. She'd been so small, so fragile. Gone because he'd been too late, too slow, too weak to protect her. His mate. His child. Dead. Your Majesty. Councilman Thorne's voice cut through the numbness. We need your decision on the trade agreements with the Western Pax. Dante looked at him. Thorne had been on the council for 30 years, had served under Dante's father. He was supposed to be trustworthy. Right now, he looked like a vulture circling a corpse. Table it, Dante said. We've already tabled it 3 times. The Western Alphas are threatening to withdraw entirely. I said table it. His voice came out flat, empty. Or bring it to Serafina. Let her handle it. Silence fell over the council chamber. Even mentioning Serafina was tantamount to surrender. The council had been pushing for weeks to name her as co-regent, to give her authority while Dante recovered from his grief. They wanted him gone. Wanted a new king. Someone more stable, more present, more alive than the walking corpse he'd become. Maybe they were right. Dante. Marcus's hand on his shoulder. His beta, his brother, the only person in this room who actually gave a damn about him. Can I speak with you? Privately? They left the council chamber, walked to Dante's study in silence. Once inside, Marcus closed the door and locked it. You can't keep doing this, Marcus said. You're destroying yourself. Destroying the kingdom. She's dead. I know. And I'm sorry. But you're the Alpha King. You have responsibilities. I don't care. The words exploded out of him, his wolf surging, his control finally snapping. Do you understand? I don't care about the kingdom. Don't care about the council. Don't care about any of it. She's dead. My mate is dead. My child is dead. And it's my fault. It's not. I was too slow. Too late. If I'd found her sooner, if I'd searched harder, if I'd been less of a coward and just told Serafina the truth from the beginning, his voice broke. She died alone and afraid, thinking I was hunting her. Thinking I wanted to hurt her. And I never even got to tell her. What? That he loved her? He'd never met her. Never spoken to her beyond those stolen 6 hours he couldn't remember. How could you love someone you didn't know? But his wolf knew. His soul knew. She'd been his, and now she was gone, and the emptiness where she should have been was killing him inch by inch. Marcus grabbed his shoulders. Listen to me. The council is planning to declare you unfit. They're going to force you to abdicate, crown Serafina's chosen successor. You have maybe a week before they move against you. Let them. Dante. Let them, he repeated. What does it matter? What does any of it matter without her? Marcus opened his mouth to respond when someone knocked on the door. A guard entered, holding an envelope. Your Majesty. This just arrived. Hand delivered. The courier said it was urgent. Dante took the envelope, barely looking at it. Probably another condolence letter from some alpha he'd never met, full of empty words about loss and duty. He opened it. Inside was a single piece of paper with one word written in blood-red ink. Yours. And beneath it, coordinates. Dante's wolf surged, suddenly alert. Suddenly awake in a way it hadn't been since the fire. What is it? Marcus asked. Dante showed him the paper. Marcus frowned, pulled out his phone, entered the coordinates. His expression went pale. That's deep in rebel territory. The heart of where we think Silas's main compound is. It's a trap. Obviously. Marcus looked at him. You're not seriously considering. I'm going. It's a trap, Dante. They'll kill you the second you arrive. I don't care. But that wasn't quite true. His wolf cared. His wolf was howling, desperate, insistent. Something about that message, about those coordinates, felt right in a way nothing had felt since the fire. What if? No. He'd seen the body. Held it. Watched it burn. But what if he'd been wrong? What if that body hadn't been her? What if this was real, and she was alive, and he was about to throw away his only chance to save her? I have to know, he said quietly. Even if it is a trap. Even if they kill me. I have to know. Marcus studied him for a long moment, then sighed. Then I'm coming with you. No. You stay here. Keep the council from doing anything stupid until I return. And if you don't return? Dante handed him a sealed envelope he'd been carrying for weeks. Then you give this to whoever they crown as the new king. It's everything, all my investigations into the rebellion, all the intelligence I've gathered, all the plans I never had time to implement. Maybe they'll do better than I did. Marcus took the envelope, his jaw tight. You're a good king, Dante. A good man. Don't let grief make you forget that. But Dante had already forgotten. Had forgotten everything except the mating bond pulling at his chest, the wolf howling in his head, the desperate, impossible hope that maybe, just maybe, she was still alive. He left within the hour, alone, following coordinates that led into the darkest part of enemy territory. If it was a trap, he'd die. If it wasn't. His phone buzzed. A video message from an unknown number. Dante almost didn't open it. Almost deleted it and kept driving. But something made him stop, pull over, and press play. The screen showed a dim cell. A woman on the floor, hands bound, blood soaking through her clothes. She was screaming, her body arched in agony, her face twisted in pain. Aria. Alive. The video cut to Silas Corvain, smiling into the camera. Hello, Alpha King. As you can see, your maid is alive. For now. She's going into premature labor, and without proper medical care, She and your heir will both die within hours. But I'm a reasonable man. I'm willing to negotiate. The screen showed the coordinates again. The same ones from the letter. Come alone. Unarmed. Abdicate your throne, and I'll let them live. Refuse, and I'll send you pieces of them instead. The video ended with Arya's screams echoing in the silence. Dante sat in his car, his hands white-knuckled on the steering wheel, his wolf howling so loudly he could barely think. She was alive. Pregnant. Dying. And he had 6 hours to save her. He texted Marcus, "She's alive. Silas has her. I'm going in." The response came immediately, "Don't. It's a trap. Wait for backup." Dante didn't respond. He threw the phone on the passenger seat and drove, pushing the car to its limits, racing toward the coordinates like the devil himself was chasing him. Maybe he was. Because if Arya died, if he lost her again after finding out she was alive, there would be no coming back from that. He'd burn the world down. Starting with Silas Corvain. The sun was setting when he reached the coordinates. A valley deep in rebel territory, surrounded by cliffs, accessible only by a single narrow road. The perfect place for an ambush. Dante didn't care. He parked, got out, and walked toward the hidden entrance Marcus's intelligence had marked on the map. 50 wolves materialized from the rocks, all armed, all wearing the rebellion's red band. Silas stood at the center, smiling. "Alpha King. So good of you to accept my invitation." He gestured to the entrance behind him. "Your mate is inside. Dying. And you're going to watch unless you do exactly what I say." Dante's claws extended. His wolf was barely contained, a monster straining at its leash. Every instinct screamed at him to tear Silas apart, to paint these rocks with rebel blood. But Arya was inside. Arya and his child. And if he attacked now, Silas would kill them both before Dante could reach them. So he did the hardest thing he'd ever done. He bowed his head. "What do you want?" Silas's smile widened. "Everything." Deep in the compound, Arya's screams echoed through stone corridors, and the baby that was coming too soon fought for every breath. Time was running out. Chapter 5. The compound had 53 wolves guarding it. They didn't stand a chance. Dante walked through the entrance like death incarnate, his alpha command rolling off him in waves so powerful the first line of rebels simply collapsed, unconscious before they even understood what was happening. The ones behind them tried to fight, tried to shift, tried to run. None of it mattered. He moved through them like a force of nature, claws and teeth and rage given form. His wolf had taken over completely, merged with his human side into something primal and unstoppable. This was what it meant to be an alpha king. Not the crown or the politics or the careful diplomacy. This. The raw, brutal power that made other wolves bow or break. Silas's rebels broke. Dante painted the corridors red, following the mating bond like a compass pointing home. It pulled him deeper into the compound, through locked doors he tore off their hinges, past more rebels who took one look at him and fled. Smart ones. The stupid ones attacked. They died quickly. The bond led him down into the earth where the stone walls were slick with moisture and the air tasted like blood and fear. His mate's fear. He could smell it, acrid and sharp, mixed with pain and something else. Baby. Babies. Distress. His wolf howled. Dante ran. He found the medical room at the end of a long corridor. 2 guards stood outside, their faces pale, their hands shaking as they raised their weapons. "Stand down," Dante growled, his alpha command absolute. They collapsed like puppets with cut strings. He kicked the door open. The room was chaos. Machines beeping frantically, a woman in blood-stained scrubs shouting orders, and on a steel table in the center. Arya. She was unconscious, her face gray, her body too still. Wires and tubes connected her to machines Dante didn't recognize. A monitor showed 2 heartbeats, both erratic, both fading. No. 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 Who the hell are you? The woman in scrubs, the medic, he realized, spun toward him. You can't be in here, we're in the middle of. I'm the father. Dante moved to Aria's side, his hand finding hers. It was cold, too cold. What's happening? She's in labor. 6 months pregnant with twins, severe wolfsbane poisoning, placental abruption, she's hemorrhaging. The medic's voice was professional but strained. I need to do an emergency C-section now or they all die. But I don't have the equipment, don't have the proper sterile environment, and I've never done this procedure before. Twins. Twins. Dante's world tilted. Not 1 child. 2. Both dying while he stood here. Then we get her to a hospital. There's no time. The baby's heart rates are dropping. She's going into shock. It's now or never. Dante looked at Aria's face, so pale she looked like a ghost. His mate. The woman he'd searched for, mourned for, almost lost forever. She was dying on a steel table in a rebel compound because he'd been too late again. No. Not again. Never again. Do it, he said. The C-section. Now. I'll assist. You're not qualified. I'm an alpha king. My blood can accelerate healing, strengthen newborns. He rolled up his sleeve. Use it. Whatever they need. Take it all. The medic stared at him for a heartbeat, then nodded. Scrub in. Fast. The next hour was the longest of Dante's life. He held Aria's hand while the medic cut into her, murmuring promises he didn't know if he could keep. I'm here. I've got you. You're safe. I won't let anything happen to you. The first baby came out silent, tiny, barely moving. A boy. The medic handed him to Dante, and he stared at the impossibly small life in his hands. No bigger than his forearm. Skin so translucent he could see veins beneath. Not breathing. His wolf whimpered. Dante bit his own wrist, let his blood drip into the baby's mouth. Royal blood. Alpha blood. The most powerful healing agent in the wolf world. The baby gasped, coughed, let out a weak cry. Alive. The second twin came 2 minutes later. Another boy, even smaller than the first, his heartbeat so faint Dante could barely hear it. The medic shook her head. He's not going to make it. Yes, he is. Dante repeated the process, his blood flowing into his son's mouth. You're going to live. Both of you. I didn't find you just to lose you now. The second baby cried, a sound like a kitten mewling. Dante closed his eyes, feeling something crack open in his chest. Relief so intense it hurt. They were alive. Small and fragile and not out of danger, but alive. The mother, the medic said urgently. She's hemorrhaging worse. I can't stop the bleeding. Use my blood. Dante thrust the twins at a rebel who'd appeared in the doorway, a young woman with terror in her eyes. Hold them. Carefully. If anything happens to them, I'll kill everyone in this compound. She took the babies with shaking hands. Dante turned back to Aria, bit his wrist again, held it to her mouth. Drink. Come on, mate. Stay with me. His blood was pure healing, pure life. It would save her. Had to save her. For a terrifying moment, nothing happened. Then her throat moved, swallowing reflexively. The machine's frantic beeping slowed. Steadied. Her heartbeat strengthened. The mating mark on his palm, the one he barely remembered giving her, began to glow. Silver light, pulsing in time with their hearts. The bond snapping into place completely, permanently, unbreakably. His wolf sang in triumph. Dante sagged against the table, exhausted. He'd burned through more power in the last 2 hours than he'd used in a year. But she was alive. They were all alive. We need to get them to a real hospital, the medic said quietly. The babies need incubators, specialized care. And she needs surgery to repair the damage. I've done what I can, but... I know. Dante straightened, looked at the woman who'd saved his family despite being part of the organization trying to destroy him. Thank you. She blinked, surprised. I'm a rebellion medic. You should kill me. You saved my mate and my sons. That buys your life. He moved to where the young woman held his twins, took them back carefully. They were so small, barely a handful each. What's your name? Dr. Chen. Lyra Chen. Chen. Like Mara. Dante studied her face, saw the resemblance. Sister? Cousin. I didn't know what she'd done until after. Lyra's voice broke. I'm sorry. For all of it. Dante nodded once. Later, there would be time for questions, for justice, for sorting through the betrayals and the blame. Right now, he needed to get his family out of here. Come with us. I'll need someone who knows their medical history. Silas will kill me. Silas is dead. Dante said it with certainty. He'd torn through half the compound to reach this room. The other half would fall before he left. The rebellion dies today. You can die with it, or you can help me save these children. Choose. Lyra looked at the twins, at Arya unconscious on the table, and something shifted in her expression. I'll help. Dante called Marcus, gave him the coordinates, demanded immediate evacuation. 50 royal guards arrived within 20 minutes. They swept through what remained of the compound, eliminating stragglers, securing the area. They found Silas in his office, trying to escape through a hidden passage. Dante left the twins with Lyra and 2 trusted guards, then went to handle it personally. Silas turned when Dante entered, his face pale but defiant. Kill me, then. Make me a martyr. The rebellion will only grow stronger. The rebellion is over. Dante's claws extended. You made a mistake, Silas. You touched my mate. Threatened my children. There's no coming back from that. She's not worth dying for. Dante's hand closed around Silas's throat. She's worth killing for. It was over quickly. When Dante walked out of that room, there was no rebellion left. No leader, no compound, no threat. Just blood on his hands and the knowledge that he'd do it all again without hesitation. For her. For them. Always. Arya woke to white light and the smell of antiseptic. Hospital. She was in a hospital. But not a normal one. The room was too large, too luxurious. Private. Expensive. The kind of place where kings were treated. Oh God. She tried to sit up and gasped as pain lanced through her abdomen. Wrong. Everything felt wrong. Her stomach was flat, empty. The babies. Panic seized her. She looked around wildly, saw the monitors beside the bed, the 4 in her arm, the private guards standing at the door. Where are my babies? Her voice came out hoarse, desperate. Where? They're safe. The guard spoke into a radio. Your Majesty, she's awake. Your Majesty. Oh no. Oh no no no. The door opened. Dante Blackthorne walked in, and Arya's heart stopped. She'd seen him from a distance at the tavern, through flames and smoke. But up close, he was overwhelming. Tall enough to make the spacious room feel small. Broad-shouldered, battle-scarred, with eyes that burned gold when they met hers. The most powerful alpha in the kingdom, and he was looking at her like she was something precious. Terrifying. Arya. Her name and his voice sent shivers down her spine. The mating bond pulled tight, trying to drag her toward him. She fought it. How are you feeling? Where are my babies? She wouldn't be distracted. Wouldn't be charmed or intimidated or manipulated. I want to see them. Now. They're 2 floors down in the NICU. Premature twins, 3 pounds each. But they're stable. He moved closer, and every instinct screamed at her to run. Or to go to him. She couldn't tell which. They're fighters. Like their mother. Twins. She'd had twins. 2 boys, the nurses had told her before she'd passed out again. 2 impossibly small lives that she'd almost killed by poisoning herself with wolfsbane. I want to see them, she repeated. You can. As soon as the doctor clears you to move. Dante sat in the chair beside her bed, casual as if he belonged there. As if she belonged here. We need to talk first. About what? About everything. His eyes didn't leave her face. About why you ran. Why you hid. Why you poisoned yourself rather than let me find you. Arya pulled the thin hospital blanket tighter, a useless shield. You know why. Mara drugged us both. Set us up. I woke up marked and terrified, and everyone kept saying there was an intruder in your bed. There was. You. He leaned forward, his intensity pinning her in place. But you weren't an intruder to me. You were my mate. Are my mate. The bond doesn't lie. I didn't consent to that bond. Neither did I. His voice rose, then controlled. Someone stole 6 hours from us both. 6 hours where we found each other, claimed each other, created life together. And I don't remember any of it. Do you? Arya closed her eyes. Fragments. Just fragments. His voice. His touch. Heat and pleasure and something that felt right in a way nothing in her life had ever felt right. But it had all been a lie. A drug-induced fantasy. No, she whispered. Then we start over. Dante's hand covered hers, his touch warm. The mating mark on his palm pressed against the matching one on her wrist, and they both glowed. Silver light, proof of what they were. I'm Dante Blackthorn. Your mate. And I've been looking for you for 4 months, thinking I'd lost you, thinking you were dead. Now you're here, and I'm not letting you go. You can't just decide that. I can. I have. You're my mate, Arya. That's not negotiable. His grip tightened. But I'm not a monster. I won't force you into anything. Won't touch you without permission. We'll take this as slow as you need. But you and our son stay here, where I can protect you. I'm a prisoner. You're under protection. There's a difference. Not from where I'm sitting. Dante's jaw tightened. You sold information to the rebellion. Information that could have gotten me killed. That's treason. The council will want you arrested, tried, executed. Fear spiked through her. I didn't know who they were. I know. I know why you did it, why you were desperate enough to make that choice. His voice softened. Kyle's treatment was paid for, by the way. He's recovering well in a facility in the south. You saved his life. Arya's eyes burned. Kyle. Safe. Alive. That's all that mattered. But the council doesn't care about your reasons, Dante continued. They care about the law. And you broke it. The only reason you're not in a cell right now is because you're my mate, and I've claimed protection rights over you. How generous. It's survival, Arya. For both of us. He stood, paced to the window. The babies, our sons, they're not normal. The doctors ran genetic testing. They carry a bloodline mutation that appears once every few centuries. They're going to be powerful. Dangerously powerful. What does that mean? It means every enemy I have will want them dead or controlled. Every ally will want them secured. They're the most valuable targets in the kingdom. He turned back to her. And you're the only one they trust completely. They need you. I need you. So yes, you're staying here. Not as a prisoner. As their mother. As my mate. Under my protection. Arya wanted to argue. Wanted to rage and fight and run like she'd been running for months. But she was so tired. Tired of being afraid. Tired of being alone. And her babies, their babies, were 2 floors down, tiny and vulnerable, and she needed to see them. I want to see my sons, she said quietly. Dante's expression softened. Let me call the doctor. Dr. Lyra Chen arrived 10 minutes later, examined Arya with gentle efficiency, and approved her for wheelchair transport to the NICU. Dante pushed the wheelchair himself, his presence a solid wall at her back. The NICU was hushed, full of beeping monitors and hushed voices. 2 incubators sat side by side in a private room, guarded by 2 royal guards who bowed when Dante entered. Inside the incubators were the smallest babies Arya had ever seen. Tiny, perfect, covered in wires and tubes. Her sons. Her children. Can I touch them? She whispered. Through the ports. Lyra showed her how to reach through the holes in the incubator sides. They need contact. Need to know you're here. Arya's hands shook as she touched each baby. Their skin was impossibly soft, warm with life. They moved at her touch, little hands grasping reflexively. They know you, Dante said quietly. He stood beside her, his own hands in the other incubator ports. They'd been restless since the surgery. But now they were calming. Both babies settling, their heart rates steadying on the monitors. What are their names? Arya asked. I haven't named them. That's your right. She looked at her sons, these impossibly small lives that had fought so hard to exist. Kale, she said, touching the slightly larger twin. And Finn. Her hand moved to the smaller one, the one who'd almost not made it. They're survivors. They need strong names. Kale and Finn Blackthorn, Dante said, testing it. I like it. Montgomery, Arya corrected. Kale and Finn Montgomery. Dante's hand covered hers over Finn's tiny chest. They carry royal blood, Arya. That makes them Blackthorns whether we like it or not. For their safety, if nothing else. Before she could argue, the door burst open. Lady Seraphina Ashwood swept in like a storm, dressed in designer clothes and righteous fury. Behind her stood 5 members of the royal council, their faces grim. Finally, Seraphina said, her green eyes cold as she looked at Arya. The little Omega who thinks she can steal a king. Dante moved faster than thought, placing himself between Arya and the intruders. Get out. We have council business. Get out. His alpha command hit like a physical force. 2 of the council members stumbled backward. But Seraphina stood her ground. She was a dominant alpha in her own right, immune to anyone's command except another king's. And maybe not even then. This woman, she pointed at Arya, fled with royal heirs. Sold state secrets to enemies of the crown. Committed treason multiple times over. The law demands she be arrested and tried. She's under my protection. Your protection means nothing when it comes to treason. Seraphina's smile was knife-sharp. And those children, they're royal heirs, yes. But they're also dangerous. The council has voted. They'll be taken into protective custody. Raised properly. Safely. Away from their criminal mother. No. The word came from Arya, barely a whisper but absolute. You're not taking my babies. They're not yours anymore. Seraphina nodded to the guards behind her, her guards, not Dante's. Take the children. Arrest the Omega. Touch them and die. Dante's wolf rose to the surface, his eyes pure gold, his claws fully extended. I don't care what the council voted. Those are my sons. My mate. Mine. And I will burn this entire kingdom to the ground before I let you touch them. Serafina stepped closer, unafraid. Then you're admitting she's your true mate? That your engagement to me is void? Yes. The word hung in the air like a bomb. Then you've just started a war, Serafina said quietly. The Northern Pax won't accept this insult. Won't accept being set aside for some nobody Omega with traitor's blood. She looked at the council members. Declare him. Councilman Thorne stepped forward, his voice formal. Alpha King Dante Blackthorn, by the power vested in me by the Royal Council, we hereby declare you unfit to rule. Your obsession with this Omega has compromised your judgment, endangered the kingdom, and violated our most sacred alliance. You are stripped of your crown and authority until such time as. Try it. Dante's voice was death itself. Try to take my crown. Try to take my family. See what happens. The room went deathly silent. Then, from the incubators, both babies began to cry. High, thin wails that shouldn't have meant anything to anyone. Except every wolf in the room suddenly staggered, gasping. The babies' cries carried alpha command. Raw, untrained, impossibly powerful alpha command from 6-month-old newborns. Impossible, Thorne whispered. Dante looked at his sons, at the tiny lives he'd almost lost, and understood. They weren't just powerful. They were unprecedented. And every person in this room just realized it. Serafina recovered first. All the more reason they need proper guidance. Proper training. Not a frightened Omega who doesn't understand what they are. They need their mother, Dante said. And she stays with me. Then you'll watch her hang for treason, Serafina shot back. The law is the law, Dante. Not even you can change it. She swept out, the council following. But their message was clear. War was coming. For the crown. For the babies. For Arya. And Dante would have to fight everyone, his council, his allies, his entire kingdom, to keep them. Arya looked at him, this man she barely knew, this mate she'd never wanted, and saw the truth in his eyes. He'd do it. He'd burn the world for them. The question was, would it be enough? Chapter 6. The press conference was scheduled for noon. Arya stood in a room that cost more than she'd made in her entire life, staring at clothes she didn't recognize, preparing to face a world she'd never wanted to be part of. Outside the door, she could hear voices, advisors arguing with Dante, staff rushing back and forth, the constant buzz of a crisis barely contained. Her crisis. Her life exploding into something unrecognizable. The blue dress, a voice said behind her. Arya turned. Dr. Lyra Chen stood in the doorway, holding a garment bag. Not just a doctor anymore, Dante had made her the twins' primary physician and, apparently, Arya's unofficial handler. I don't want to wear any of these. Arya gestured at the dozen designer outfits spread across the bed. Each one cost more than her old annual salary. I want my own clothes. Your old clothes were burned in the tavern explosion. And even if they weren't, Lyra's voice gentled. You're about to be introduced as the Alpha King's mate. As the mother of royal heirs. What you wear matters. Everything about me matters now, apparently. Arya sat heavily on the bed. Her abdomen still ached from the surgery 3 days ago. 3 days since her world had ended. Or begun. She couldn't tell which. What if I refuse? What if I just don't go out there? Then Serafina wins. The council declares Dante unfit, takes the twins into custody, and you go to trial for treason. Lyra sat beside her. I know this isn't what you wanted. But running isn't an option anymore. It's never been an option. That's the problem. Arya pressed her hands to her face. Do you know what it's like? Having no choices? Having your entire life decided by things you didn't consent to? Actually, yes. Lyra's voice was quiet. I was supposed to marry a Northern Pack Alpha when I was 17. Political arrangement. He was 43 and already had 2 wives. My family didn't care. So I ran, joined the rebellion, became a doctor where credentials mattered more than bloodlines. She paused. Then Dante killed Silas and gave me a choice, die with the rebellion or save his sons. First real choice I'd had in years. Arya looked at her. Why are you telling me this? Because choices aren't always between good and bad. Sometimes they're between bad and worse. And you're smart enough to know which one keeps you and your babies alive. Lyra stood, held out the blue dress. Dante's not perfect. Not even close. But he's the only thing standing between your sons and people who'd kill them just for existing. So wear the dress. Smile for the cameras. Play the role. And figure out how to survive long enough to make real choices later. Arya took the dress. It fit perfectly, of course. Someone had taken her measurements while she'd been unconscious, catalogued her body like inventory. The thought made her skin crawl. A knock on the door. It's time, Marcus called. Arya took a breath, opened the door. Marcus looked her up and down, nodded approval. You look like a queen. I'm not a queen. I'm a prisoner in expensive clothes. Sometimes that's the same thing. He offered his arm. His Majesty is waiting. The walk to the royal press room felt like a death march. Staff stopped to stare as she passed, their expressions ranging from curiosity to contempt to pity. She was the Omega who'd stolen their king. The traitor who'd fled with royal heirs. The scandal that was tearing their court apart. She'd never asked to be any of it. Dante waited outside the press room doors, dressed in formal royal attire that made him look even more intimidating than usual. When he saw her, something shifted in his expression. Heat. Possession. The wolf rising to the surface. Arya's own wolf whined in response, the mating bond pulling tight. She fought it. Fought the instinct to go to him, to seek safety in his presence. He wasn't safety. He was the cage itself. You look beautiful, he said quietly. I look expensive. There's a difference. His jaw tightened. After this is over, we need to talk. About everything. About what you need, what boundaries you want, how we're going to make this work. How you're going to make this work, you mean? Arya cut him off. I don't have a say in any of this. You've made that very clear. That's not, he stopped, took a breath. Behind them, Marcus cleared his throat. Time was up. After. We'll talk after. The press room was packed. Every major news outlet, every influential alpha, every member of the court who could secure an invitation. Cameras flashed the moment Arya walked in, nearly blinding her. Dante's hand found the small of her back, steadying her, and the bond flared between them. She wanted to pull away. Wanted to run. Instead, she lifted her chin and walked to the podium like Lyra had taught her. Smile. Stand straight. Look confident even when you're terrified. Fake it until you survive it. Dante spoke first, his voice carrying the absolute authority of an alpha king. Thank you for coming. I have an announcement regarding the future of this kingdom and my personal life. He paused, let the weight of the moment build. 6 months ago, I met my true mate. The fated bond recognized by our kind as sacred and unbreakable. Her name is Arya Montgomery, and she is the mother of my twin sons, Cale and Finn Blackthorn. The room erupted. Questions shouted over each other, cameras flashing like lightning. Dante held up a hand, and silence fell. I know there are questions about the circumstances of our mating. About Lady Seraphina Ashwood and our previous engagement. About the legitimacy of this bond. His eyes found Serafina in the crowd. She stood near the back, her face a mask of barely controlled rage. Let me be absolutely clear. My engagement to Lady Serafina is ended. It ended the moment I discovered my true mate. No political alliance, no matter how valuable, supersedes the fated bond. This is Wolf law. This is our way. What about the accusations of treason? A reporter called out. Your mate fled with royal heirs, sold information to the rebellion. My mate was drugged, marked without her consent, and fled in terror for her life and our children's lives. She made choices out of desperation that I would have made myself in her position. Any charges against her are dismissed under royal protection. Dante's hand squeezed Arya's waist. She is my queen. The mother of the future heirs to this kingdom. And anyone who threatens her threatens me. Arya forced herself to smile, to look like this was what she wanted. Inside, she was screaming. He was claiming her in front of the world without asking, without permission, binding her to a role she'd never chosen. But her sons were 2 floors down, fighting for every breath. And this, playing queen, playing mate, was what kept them alive. So she smiled wider. Lady Serafina. A reporter turned to the back. Do you have a response? Serafina stepped forward, elegant and dangerous. I have questions. How do we know this bond is legitimate? True mate bonds are rare, nearly impossible to fake, but with the right drugs, the right manipulation, she looked at Arya with thinly veiled contempt. How do we know this Omega didn't engineer this entire situation? That she didn't drug the king herself, force a false bond, and trap him with heirs? The room went silent. Arya's heart hammered. She opened her mouth, had no idea what to say. Test it. Dante's voice cut through the tension. Our bond. Test it right here, right now. Bring a bonding specialist. Verify it's real. Dante, Marcus started. No. If there are questions about legitimacy, we answer them. Now. He looked at Serafina. Unless you're afraid of what the test will show. 10 minutes later, Dr. Helena Frost, the kingdom's leading expert on mate bonds, stood before them with a portable scanner. She was old, ancient by Wolf standards, with eyes that had seen too much. Give me your hands, she said. Dante and Arya held out their marked hands. The doctor placed a scanner over their joined palms, and the device lit up. Silver light, pulsing in perfect synchronization with their heartbeats. The mating marks glowed, visible to everyone in the room. Genetic match, 99. 97%, Dr. Frost read from the screen. Bond strength, absolute. Classification, fated true mate bond, irreversible and sacred under Wolf law. She looked up, her expression neutral. This bond is genuine. I've never seen a stronger reading in 50 years of practice. Serafina's face went pale. Then red. This is impossible. This is law, Dante interrupted. Accept it or leave my court, Serafina. Your choice. For a moment, Arya thought Serafina might attack. Might shift right there and tear them both apart. The alpha woman's control was visibly fraying, her wolf barely contained. Then she smiled. Cold and sharp and absolutely terrifying. Congratulations, Your Majesties. The title dripped with venom. I'm sure you'll be very happy together. For however long you survive. She swept out, her entourage following. Half the court went with her. The press conference continued for another 20 minutes, but Arya barely heard it. She stood beside Dante, smiling and nodding, while inside she wondered if she'd just signed her own death warrant. When it was finally over, Dante led her back to his quarters. She'd been moved while unconscious, her few belongings transferred to the royal wing. To his rooms. His space. His control. That went well, Marcus said, closing the doors behind them. Serafina's going to be a problem. Serafina's always been a problem. Dante poured himself a drink, downed it in one swallow. But she can't challenge the bond. Not now. Not with that reading. She can challenge everything else. Your fitness to rule. Your judgment. Your priorities. Marcus turned to Arya. And she'll come after you. Not directly, she's too smart for that. But she'll make your life hell until Dante has no choice but to. I'm right here, Arya interrupted. Stop talking about me like I'm furniture. Both men turned to her, surprised. As if they'd forgotten she could speak. You want to know what Serafina will do? Arya continued. She'll wait. She'll be patient. And then, when I make a mistake, because I will, because I don't know how to be queen, don't know how to navigate court politics, don't know any of this, she'll destroy me. And through me, she'll destroy you. She looked at Dante. That press conference didn't solve anything. It just painted a bigger target on my back. I'll protect you. You can't protect me from everything. Her voice rose. You can't be there every second. Can't shield me from every attack, every scheme, every person who wants me dead so you'll be available again. And eventually, something will get through. Someone will succeed. And then what happens to our sons? The room fell silent. They need their mother, Dante said finally. The doctors say they're only stable when you're nearby. The bond between you and them. I know. I've been told. Multiple times. That I'm necessary. That I'm important. That I have to stay for them. Arya's hands clenched. But what about what I want? What about my choices? You stood up there and told the world I'm your queen, but you never asked me. Never gave me the option to say no. You just decided, and now I'm trapped. You think I wanted this? Dante's control cracked. You think I wanted to find my mate unconscious and poisoned, to watch my sons born 3 months early, to have my kingdom tearing itself apart over a bond one can't even remember forming? I didn't choose this either, Arya. But here we are. And we have to make it work. Why? Because Wolf Law says so? Because the bond says so? She stepped closer, anger overriding fear. I didn't consent to this bond. Didn't consent to being marked, to being claimed, to being tied to you forever. Someone drugged us both and stole that choice from us. And now you expect me to just accept it? To play happy family and pretend everything's fine? I expect you to survive. Dante's voice dropped. To be smart enough to know that right now, in this moment, I'm all that's standing between you and people who'd kill you without hesitation. You want choices? Fine. Here's your choice, work with me or die. Those are your options. Arya recoiled like he'd slapped her. Get out. This is my room. I said get out. Her wolf rose, surprising them both. Her eyes flashed gold, impossible for an Omega, but there it was. You want me to play queen? Fine. Then I get my own space. My own rooms. My own life that doesn't revolve around you. Or I walk out that door right now and take my chances with the council. Dante stared at her, his wolf warring with his human side. Finally, he nodded. Fine. I'll have rooms prepared for you. Adjacent to mine, close enough to maintain the bond, far enough to give you space. Thank you. She didn't feel grateful. Felt exhausted. Felt like she was drowning slowly and everyone kept telling her to just breathe water. Marcus's phone buzzed. He checked it, his expression darkening. Your Majesty. We have a situation. Of course they did. The investigation into Mara's death, we've been going through her communications, her financial records. Marcus pulled up something on his tablet. She didn't act alone. Someone paid her $50,000 to drug you both. Paid her to make sure you ended up in Serafina's chambers, not Arya's. Dante went very still. What? The plan was for you to sleep with Serafina while drugged. For her to get pregnant with your heir, force a bonding under duress. But Mara screwed up. Got confused in the corridors, led you to Arya's room instead. Marcus looked at Arya. You weren't the target. You were the mistake. Arya sat down, her legs suddenly weak. Who paid her? Bank transfers traced back to a Northern Pack account. Serafina's personal funds. Marcus's voice was grim. She engineered this whole thing. Planned to drug you, force a bond, secure the throne. And when it went wrong, when you bonded with Arya instead, she tried to fix it by having Arya killed. The explosion, Arya whispered. That was her? We're still gathering proof, but yes. We think so. Dante's hands curled into fists. She tried to rape me. Used drugs to force a bond. And when it backfired, she tried to murder my mate. His voice was deadly calm. Too calm. That's not just treason. That's a declaration of war. There's more. Marcus hesitated. Arya's brother. Kyle. We ran tests on his medical records. He wasn't naturally ill. He was poisoned. Slow-acting, designed to mimic a genetic disease. The poisoning started 4 months before the Harvest Moon Ball. The world tilted. They poisoned Kyle to force me into desperate choices, Arya said slowly. To make me vulnerable. So when the broker approached me, when Silas offered money for information, I'd have no choice but to. She couldn't finish. Couldn't breathe. They'd poisoned her baby brother. A 16-year-old kid who'd never hurt anyone. Poisoned him to manipulate her, to use her, to turn her into a weapon against Dante. And she'd played right into their hands. I need to see Kyle, she said. I need to know he's really okay. I'll arrange it. Marcus made notes on his tablet. But Arya, if Serafina was willing to poison a child to manipulate you, there's nothing she won't do. You understand that, right? She'll keep coming. Keep trying. Until one of you is dead. Arya understood. Understood that she'd stumbled into a war that had been brewing long before she'd ever served wine at a ball. That she and her sons were pieces on a board she couldn't even see the edges of. We need to move against her, Dante said. Publicly. Strip her of her titles, exile her. We need proof, Marcus corrected. Real, undeniable proof. Not just bank transfers and suspicions. If we move against a Northern Alpha without ironclad evidence, their entire pack will declare war. And we don't have the strength for that fight. Not while the kingdom is already divided. Then we find proof. I'm working on it. But Dante, it's going to take time. And time is something we don't have a lot of. A nurse appeared in the doorway. Your Majesties. The twins are asking for you. Asking. As if 6-month-old premature babies could ask for anything. But Arya understood what she meant. The babies were restless, their heart rates climbing. They needed their parents. She and Dante walked to the NICU in silence. The tension between them was thick enough to cut, but they both put it aside the moment they saw their sons. Kale and Finn lay in their incubators, tiny and perfect. They'd grown in the 3 days since birth, miracle of royal bloodlines, the doctors said. Already 4 pounds each. Still so small, but stronger. Fighting. Arya reached through the ports, touched each baby. Immediately, their heart rates settled. Their little hands grasped at her fingers. They know you, Lyra said quietly. She'd been monitoring them constantly. The bond between mother and child, it's the only thing keeping them stable. Without you nearby, they go into distress. With you, they thrive. How long will they need to be in here? Dante asked. Weeks. Maybe months. Premature wolf pups are unpredictable. But they're strong. They're fighting. Lyra checked the monitors. There's something else. Something I need to tell you both. Her tone made Arya's stomach drop. What? The genetic tests we ran, they showed something unusual. Your sons don't just carry royal bloodlines. They carry a specific mutation. One that appears in wolf lore but hasn't been documented in over 200 years. She pulled up a genetic scan on her tablet. They're sovereign twins. What does that mean? Arya asked. According to the old texts, sovereign twins are born once every few centuries. They're impossibly powerful, capable of things normal wolves can't do. Alpha command from birth, as you saw. Accelerated healing. Enhanced strength and speed. Lyra paused. But there's a prophecy associated with them. An old one. What prophecy? Dante's voice was tight. Lyra pulled up an ancient text on her screen, read aloud. When twins of sovereign blood are born, the kingdom stands at the crossroads. They will unite all packs under one crown, ushering in an age of peace. Or they will destroy the old ways entirely, bringing death and chaos. Their choice will shape the world. Silence fell over the NICU. That's why Serafina wants them dead, Marcus said quietly. That's why the council is afraid. If this prophecy is known, and it is, among the old families, then everyone with power will be making calculations. Support the twins and risk destruction. Kill them and prevent the prophecy entirely. They're babies, Arya whispered. They're just babies. They're weapons, Marcus corrected. To everyone except us. Arya looked at her sons, these tiny lives that had already survived so much. They hadn't asked to be born into this. Hadn't asked to be powerful or prophesied or dangerous. Just like she hadn't asked to be queen. We protect them, Dante said. His hand found Arya's, their mating marks glowing through the incubator ports. Whatever it takes. However long it takes. They get to grow up. Get to choose their own paths. We keep them safe until they're strong enough to keep themselves safe. And how do we do that? Arya asked. How do we protect them from an entire kingdom that's afraid of what they might become? We make them legitimate. Dante looked at her. The naming ceremony. Tomorrow. We present them to the court, to the kingdom. We make it official. Make them heirs that can't be ignored or dismissed or disappeared quietly. That makes them bigger targets. It also makes them sacred under wolf law. Royal heirs, blessed by the crown, protected by every tradition we have. He squeezed her hand. It's a risk. But it's the only way to ensure they're seen as children, not threats. Arya wanted to argue. Wanted to say this was insane, that exposing her vulnerable babies to a court full of vipers was suicide. But she had no better options. Tomorrow, then, she agreed. Neither of them mentioned that tomorrow might be too late. That every hour the twins remained unprotected was an hour someone could strike. Neither of them mentioned that a naming ceremony required both parents to be present, united, presenting a strong front. Neither of them mentioned that they could barely stand to be in the same room. Tomorrow would be a disaster. Tomorrow might get them all killed. But it was the only choice they had. The naming ceremony was scheduled for dusk. By noon, the palace was in chaos. Every major Alpha family had demanded invitations. Ancient rites had to be observed. Security had to be tripled. And Arya had to be dressed, prepared, and coached on protocols she didn't understand by people who resented her existence. Smile more, an advisor snapped. You look terrified. I am terrified, Arya shot back. Then fake it better. By the time dusk arrived, Arya felt like a doll that had been posed and positioned and perfected until nothing real remained. The dress they'd put her in was white and gold, so heavy with embroidery she could barely move. Her hair was styled into something elaborate. Jewelry that cost more than her childhood home weighed down her neck and wrists. She looked like a queen. She felt like a fraud. Dante appeared at her door, dressed in full royal regalia. For a moment, they just looked at each other. Two people trapped in roles neither wanted, about to present their children to wolves who might want them dead. Ready? He asked. No. Me neither. He offered his arm. But we do it anyway. The ceremony was held in the great hall, packed with hundreds of wolves. Every eye turned to them as they entered. Dante walked with absolute confidence, his alpha presence filling the room. Arya matched him step for step, her chin up, her fear locked down deep where no one could see it. The twins were brought in by Lyra, each baby in a white christening gown, still so small they looked like dolls. But when they entered the room, every wolf felt it. That pulse of power. That undeniable sense of more radiating from two 6-pound babies. Sovereign twins. The ceremony was ancient, words in old languages Arya didn't understand. Dante held Kale. She held Finn. They stood before the elder council while blessings were spoken, while blood was drawn and mixed with sacred herbs, while the twins were officially recognized as heirs to the Blood Moon throne. It should have been beautiful. It felt like a funeral. Because halfway through, Elder Thorn stepped forward with a scroll Arya had never seen before. There is one more reading, he announced. Required by law when royal heirs display unusual attributes. Dante's hand tightened on Kale. What reading? The prophecy of sovereign blood. Thorn unrolled the scroll. Written 300 years ago by the Oracle of the Northern Peaks. It concerns the birth of twins marked by power beyond their years. We know the prophecy, Marcus said quickly. There's no need. There is every need. Thorn's voice carried across the hall. The kingdom must understand what these children represent. He read aloud, his voice echoing. When twins of sovereign blood are born, the kingdom stands at the crossroads. They will unite all packs under one crown, ushering in an age of peace and prosperity. Or they will destroy the old ways entirely, bringing death and chaos to all who resist change. Their choice will shape the world. Their power will break it. And those who stand against them will fall. Those who stand with them will rise. There is no middle ground. No safety in neutrality. Choose the twins, or choose death. These are the only paths. The hall erupted. Wolves shouting. Some in support. Most in fear. The prophecy wasn't just about the twins' potential. It was an ultimatum. Support them or be destroyed. No wonder people wanted them dead. Arya held Finn closer, feeling him squirm against her chest. So small. So innocent. And already condemned by words written before he was born. This is why they must be controlled, Seraphina's voice cut through the chaos. She stood near the front, her expression triumphant. Raised properly. Guided by those with experience and wisdom. Not by an Omega with no training and a king too compromised by his bond to see clearly. The prophecy says they'll unite the packs, Dante countered. Or did you miss that part? It also says they'll destroy those who resist them. Which means anyone who questions their rule, anyone who challenges their power, will be eliminated. That's not unity. That's tyranny. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. My sons are 6 days old, Arya said, her voice shaking but clear. They're not tyrants. They're not destroyers. They're babies who deserve a chance to grow up and choose who they want to be. This prophecy doesn't control them. It doesn't define them. And anyone who tries to hurt them because they're afraid of what they might become is a coward. The hall went silent. Arya realized what she'd just done. Called out some of the most powerful wolves in the kingdom. As an Omega. As someone with no standing, no authority, no right to speak. She just made everything worse. Seraphina smiled. You see? She has no respect for tradition. No understanding of her place. And you want her raising the most powerful heirs in 3 centuries? I want her raising my children, Dante said coldly. And if anyone has a problem with that, they can challenge me directly. No one moved. No one was stupid enough to challenge an Alpha King. But Arya saw it in their eyes. The calculation. The patience. They didn't need to challenge Dante. They just needed to wait for an opportunity. And opportunities always came. The ceremony concluded with forced pleasantries and thin smiles. The moment it was over, Dante led Arya and the twins back to the royal wing, guards surrounding them like a wall. That went well, Marcus said sarcastically. That was a disaster, Dante corrected. He looked at Arya, at the twins sleeping in their portable incubators. We've just declared war on half the kingdom. They declared war first, Arya said quietly. By poisoning Kyle. By trying to kill me. By deciding my sons are monsters before they've even opened their eyes fully. She touched Finn's tiny hand through the incubator port. I won't apologize for defending them. I'm not asking you to. Dante's voice softened. I'm asking you to be careful. What you said in there, calling the court cowards, it was brave. But it was also dangerous. Everything about this is dangerous. Might as well be honest about it. Later, when the twins were settled in the nursery and guards were posted at every entrance, Arya stood at the window of her new rooms, separate from Dante's, as promised, and watched the city below. Somewhere out there, people were planning. Scheming. Deciding whether two innocent babies deserved to live or die based on words written 300 years ago. And she was supposed to be their queen. Their protector. The one who kept them safe. She'd never felt more powerless in her life. A knock on her door. She opened it to find Dante standing there, looking as exhausted as she felt. I wanted to check on you, he said. I'm fine. You're not. Neither am I. He ran a hand through his hair. Earlier, when I said you had to work with me or die, I shouldn't have said it like that. Made it sound like a threat. It wasn't. It was just the truth. And I hate that it's true. Arya studied him. This man who was her mate, her stranger, her jailer, her protector all at once. What do you want from me, Dante? I want you to trust me. I can't. I know. He looked away. But maybe someday. When this is over. When our sons are safe and the kingdom is stable and we're not fighting for our lives every second. Maybe then you can look at me and see something other than the cage you're trapped in. And if that day never comes? Then I live with being the villain in your story. His smile was sad. But at least you'll be alive to hate me. He left before she could respond. Arya closed the door, leaned against it, and felt the mating bond pulse between them. A connection she'd never wanted. To a man she couldn't trust. For children who might destroy the world. This was her life now. And somehow, she had to find a way to survive it. Chapter 7. The first assassin came through the window. Arya barely had time to scream before Dante was there, his body between her and the intruder, his claws tearing through flesh and bone. The fight was over in seconds, the assassin dead on the nursery floor, blood pooling beneath broken glass. The twins wailed in their cribs. Get them, Dante ordered, already moving to check the windows. Now. Arya scooped up Kale and Finn, her hands shaking. They were so small, so fragile. 8 days old and someone had just tried to murder them in their sleep. Guards poured into the room. Marcus right behind them, his face grim. That's the third one tonight, he said. We can't stay here. The palace is compromised. Where? Dante demanded, pulling on a shirt. His chest was covered in the assassin's blood, but he didn't seem to notice. Where can we go that's safer than here? The Northern Sanctuary. Your grandfather's hunting lodge. Marcus was already typing on his phone. It's off the grid, defensible, unknown to anyone outside the inner circle. We can get you there in 2 hours. Do it. They left within 20 minutes. No announcements, no press releases, just a convoy of black vehicles racing through the night toward mountains Arya had never seen. She sat in the back of the middle vehicle, a twin on each side in their portable incubators, Dante across from her looking like murder personified. How did they get in? Arya asked quietly. The twins had finally fallen back asleep, exhausted from crying. The palace has hundreds of guards. Security everywhere. How? Inside help. Dante's voice was flat. Someone on staff, someone with access. We'll find them. And when you do? They'll wish the assassins had killed them instead. Arya believed him. The sanctuary was built into a mountainside, accessible only by a private road that wound through dense forest. It looked like a modest hunting lodge from the outside, but inside it was a fortress. Reinforced walls, safe rooms, enough supplies to last months. A cage built to look like a home. You'll be safe here, Marcus said as they unloaded. I've handpicked every guard. No one knows this location except us. Serafina knows, Dante said. My grandfather built it when her family's still allied with ours. She's been here. Then we're not safe anywhere. We're safer here than in the palace where someone's feeding information to our enemies. Dante carried Finn's incubator inside. How long until you can root out the traitor? Could be days. Could be weeks. Marcus looked exhausted. The cord is fracturing, Dante. Serafina's been spreading rumors, questioning your fitness, your priorities, whether you care more about your mate than your kingdom. Half the council wants you declared unfit. The other half is too afraid of the prophecy to move against you. Let them talk. Talk becomes action. And action becomes coup. Marcus glanced at Arya. You need to fix this. Both of you. Find a way to present a united front, or they'll tear the kingdom apart trying to separate you. He left with most of the guards, leaving only 4 behind. The sanctuary felt suddenly empty. Isolated. Just Arya, Dante, 2 babies, and 4 wolves who'd die protecting them if it came to that. It probably would. Arya set up the twins in the nursery, smaller than the palace one but well-equipped. Kale and Finn were growing every day, already 5 pounds each. Still tiny, still fragile, but stronger. Their little personalities were starting to show. Kale was the fighter, always fussing, always demanding attention. Finn was quieter, watching everything with eyes too knowing for a newborn. They're beautiful, Dante said from the doorway. Arya hadn't heard him approach. She was too tired, too wrung out. 3 assassination attempts in one night had shattered what little sense of security she'd managed to build. They're targets, she said. They're both. He moved closer, looked down at his sons. I never wanted children. Never thought I'd have time for a family, for anything beyond the crown. And now. Now you have 2 children you didn't plan for and a mate you don't want. I never said I didn't want you. Arya looked at him, really looked at him. He'd cleaned up, changed clothes, but the tension hadn't left his shoulders. The fear hadn't left his eyes. What do you want from me, Dante? I don't know. He laughed, the sound bitter. Isn't that pathetic? I'm the Alpha King. I'm supposed to have all the answers. But when it comes to you, to us, I have no idea what I'm doing. That makes 2 of us. They stood in silence, watching their sons sleep. Outside, night deepened. The forest pressed close. And for the first time since this whole nightmare began, Arya felt something shift. Not the mating bond pulling at her. Something else. Something almost like understanding. Tell me about your parents, she said quietly. Dante went very still. Why? Because everyone keeps saying you became king young. That you were forced into this. But no one says how or why. She turned to face him. I want to understand. Who you were before the crown. Who you might have been if they hadn't been murdered? He finished. His voice was hollow. I was 19. Home from university for the summer. They'd gone to a summit with the Eastern Pax, routine diplomatic stuff. Someone poisoned them. Slow acting, designed to look like natural causes. My father lasted 3 days. My mother died holding his hand. Aria's chest tightened. Dante. I wasn't ready. Wasn't trained. My father was only 53, thought he had decades left to prepare me. Instead, I got the crown and a kingdom full of wolves who saw me as weak. Easy to manipulate. Easy to control. His hands clenched. Serafina's father was one of the first to approach me. Offered an alliance, his daughter's hand, his support. I was grieving and terrified and I said yes because I didn't know what else to do. How long ago was this? 10 years. I'd been engaged to Serafina for a decade, always finding reasons to delay the wedding. Telling myself it was politics, strategy, that I needed more time. He looked at her. Truth is, I was terrified of being bound to her. Of giving her that kind of power over me. And then you bonded with me instead. And then I bonded with you. The one thing I didn't choose, couldn't control, and it might be the best thing that ever happened to me. His voice dropped. Or the worst. I can't tell yet. Aria wanted to be angry. Wanted to maintain her walls, her distance. But she heard the truth in his words. The fear that matched her own. I'm dying, she said. Dante's head snapped up. What? The bond. The incomplete bond. She pulled up her sleeve, showed him her wrist. The mating mark was darker than it should be, the silver tarnished with black. Dr. Lyra told me yesterday. The bond needs to be completed or it'll start consuming my life force. I have maybe a month before it kills me. No. Dante grabbed her wrist, stared at the mark. No, that's not, we can break it. Do a rejection ritual. I'll free you. That'll kill your wolf. Strip your alpha power. I don't care. The kingdom needs you. I need you. The words exploded out of him. Do you understand? I need you alive. I need you safe. I need you in this world raising our sons because they need their mother and I need, his voice broke. I need to know that if everything else falls apart, you're still here. That I didn't fail to protect the one person I was meant to protect above all others. Aria stared at him. This man who'd been a stranger, a captor, a symbol of everything she'd lost. And somewhere along the way, he'd become something else. Someone real. Someone breaking under the same impossible weight she was carrying. The rejection ritual, she said quietly. Show me. Aria. Show me. They moved to the main room. Dante pulled out an ancient book, turned to a page marked with centuries-old stains. Blood, Aria realized. This ritual had been performed before, many times, by wolves who'd chosen freedom over bonding. It's simple, Dante said. We both recite the words. I reject you as mate, you accept the rejection. The bond breaks. You live. My wolf dies, but I live. We can both walk away. You'd give up everything for me? In a heartbeat. He met her eyes. You didn't ask for this bond. Didn't ask to be tied to me forever. I won't let that choice kill you. I won't be another cage you die in. Aria looked at the book. The ancient words that would set her free. She'd wanted this, hadn't she? Wanted her choice back, her autonomy, her life that didn't revolve around a man she barely knew. Except she was starting to know him. Starting to see past the crown and the power and the carefully maintained control. Seeing the 19-year-old boy who'd lost everything and spent a decade keeping everyone at arm's length because getting close meant risking that loss again. Seeing the father who'd torn through a rebel compound to save his children. Who'd given his own blood to keep them alive. Who'd faced down his entire kingdom to protect them. Seeing the man who'd rather die than trap her. What if I don't want to break it? The words came out before she could stop them. Dante froze. What? What if, Arya's heart hammered. What if I want to complete it? Willingly this time. With full consent and... Don't. His voice was rough. Don't say that because you think you have to. Because you think it'll save me or help the twins or... I'm saying it because I'm falling for you. The admission felt like jumping off a cliff. I don't want to. I didn't plan to. But I am. And maybe that makes me stupid or weak or... Dante kissed her. It wasn't gentle. Wasn't careful. It was desperate and hungry and full of everything they'd both been holding back. His hands cupped her face like she was precious. Like she was everything. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Dante pressed his forehead to hers. Are you sure? He whispered. Because once we complete this, there's no going back. You're bound to me forever. Bound to this life, this crown, this constant danger. I need you to be absolutely sure. I'm sure I want a choice. I'm sure I want it to be mine this time. Arya's hands found his. Complete the bond with me, Dante. Not because we have to. Because we're choosing to. The book had instructions for that too. Older instructions, written in a language neither of them could read. But the intent was clear. Blood mixed with blood. Marks refreshed with consent. Words spoken that would seal them together completely. They moved to the bedroom. No audience, no ceremony, no pressure from the outside world. Just two people choosing each other in the darkness, making permanent what had been forced upon them, reclaiming their bond as their own. Dante was gentle this time. Careful. He asked permission for every touch, every kiss, every moment. And Arya gave it freely, finally understanding what it meant to be chosen. To choose. When he marked her wrist again, deliberately, consensually, the pain was sharp but welcome. A reminder that this was real, that she was doing this with full awareness of what it meant. When she marked him in return, her teeth breaking his skin, her wolf rising to claim her mate, something shifted inside her. Something that had been sleeping woke up. The bond snapped into place with the force of a thunderclap. Power flooded through her. Not just from the bond, but from somewhere deeper. Something that had been dormant her entire life suddenly blazing to consciousness. Silver light poured from her skin, from the marks on her wrists, spreading through the room like dawn breaking. Dante gasped, his own power rising to meet hers. Gold and silver mixing, swirling, creating something new. Something impossible. What? Arya couldn't finish. The power was too much, too overwhelming. She could feel everything. Every wolf in the sanctuary, every creature in the forest, every living thing for miles around. All connected. All part of a vast network she'd never known existed. You're a spirit wolf, Dante said, his voice filled with awe. I can feel it. Your wolf, it's not just any wolf. It's ancient. Powerful. Spirit wolves were thought extinct. I'm an Omega, Arya gasped. I can't be. You were never just an Omega. Your power was bound, hidden. Maybe someone in your bloodline did it to protect you, or maybe it just never manifested until now. He helped her sit up, held her steady as the power settled. But you're definitely a spirit wolf. And our bond. The bond pulsed between them, visible now as threads of silver and gold connecting their hearts. Stronger than any bond Arya had ever heard of. So powerful she could feel it resonating through the sanctuary, through the mountains, through the kingdom itself. Every wolf in the realm would have felt that surge. Would know that the Alpha King's bond had been completed. Would know that his mate was something extraordinary. This is going to change everything, Dante said quietly. It already has. Arya touched his face, feeling the bond hum with contentment. For the first time since waking up in his bed 6 months ago, she felt right. Whole. Like all the broken pieces had finally found where they belonged. They lay together as the silver light faded, as their breathing slowed, as the bond settled into something steady and sure. Outside, dawn was breaking. A new day. A new beginning. Or so they thought. The scream shattered the peace. Arya and Dante bolted from the bed, threw on clothes, and ran for the nursery. One of the guards lay crumpled in the hallway, unconscious but alive. The other 3 were gone. The nursery door hung open. Inside, Finn's incubator sat empty. Kale cried alone in his tiny face red with rage and fear. No. Finn. Arya's scream tore through the sanctuary. She ran to Kale, checked him desperately. Unhurt. Unharmed. But alone. Finn was gone. A note lay in the empty incubator, written in blood on white cloth. Come alone to the old quarry by dawn, or I start sending pieces. Silas. That's impossible, Dante said, his voice deadly calm. Silas is dead. I killed him myself. Maybe you didn't. Marcus burst into the room, his phone pressed to his ear. I just got word from the prison. Silas Corvain escaped 3 days ago during a transfer. They'd been trying to cover it up, didn't want to admit they'd lost the most dangerous prisoner in the kingdom. 3 days. Arya's hands shook as she held Kale. He's been planning this for 3 days. How did he find us? Serafina. Dante's eyes flashed gold. She's the only one who knew about this place. She told him. Then let's go get our son back. Arya's voice was ice. The spirit wolf power thrummed beneath her skin, deadly and patient. Both of us. Together. He said come alone. He can say whatever he wants. We're both going. She looked at Dante, at her mate, at the father of her children. And we're bringing him back. No matter what it costs. Dante nodded once. Marcus, stay with Kale. Triple the guards. No one in or out. You're walking into a trap. I'm walking into war. Dante took Arya's hand, their marks glowing in sync. And I'm bringing my mate. Let them try to stop us. They left Kale screaming in Marcus's arms, left the sanctuary before they could change their minds, before fear could stop them. The old quarry was an hour away. They had until dawn. Their son had until dawn. And Silas Corvain was about to learn what happened when you threatened the children of a spirit wolf and an alpha king who had nothing left to lose. The hunt was on. And this time, there would be no mercy. Chapter 8. Dawn was still an hour away when they reached the old quarry. Arya could feel Finn through the bond, not the mating bond with Dante, but something else. The connection between mother and child, amplified by her spirit wolf nature. He was alive. Terrified, but alive. She was going to tear Silas apart for that fear. There. Dante pointed to the abandoned mining facility built into the quarry's edge. Lights flickered in the windows. Movement. At least 20 wolves, maybe more. He's expecting us to come in through the front. So we don't. Arya closed her eyes, let her new power expand. She could feel every living thing within a mile. The wolves inside the facility, their emotions bleeding through like colors. Fear. Anger. Pain. But also something else. Wrongness. Like their minds were wrapped in chains. They're being controlled, she said. The wolves in there, they're not willing soldiers. They're slaves. Dante's expression darkened. Mental manipulation. That's old magic. Forbidden for a reason. Can you break it? No. But maybe you can. He looked at her, his mate, his partner. Spirit wolves were known for emotional manipulation, for breaking bonds that shouldn't exist. If you can free them, then we have an army of our own. Arya opened her eyes. The silver light was back, pulsing beneath her skin. Let's go get our son. They split up. Dante took the front entrance, making noise, drawing attention. Arya circled around to the service entrance, using her spirit wolf power to mask her presence. Every guard she passed fell unconscious, their minds overwhelmed by the calm she pushed into them. Not dead. She wouldn't kill unless she had to. These wolves were victims as much as weapons. The facility was a maze of corridors and chambers carved into rock. Arya followed the pull of Finn's presence, descending deeper. The wrongness grew stronger. She could feel the mental chains now, thick and oily, wrapped around every wolf she encountered. Someone had done this to them. Deliberately. Cruelly. She was going to make them pay. The chamber at the bottom was large, lit by torches. Finn lay in a makeshift crib in the center, crying weakly. Surrounding him were 12 wolves, their eyes vacant, their bodies tense. Guarding. Waiting. And beyond them, sitting on a throne made of scrap metal and hubris, was Silas Corvain. Except he didn't look like the rebel leader she'd seen before. He looked older. More refined. And when he smiled, Arya saw the resemblance. He looked like Dante. "Hello, niece-in-law," Silas said. "So glad you could join us. I was beginning to think you'd send your maid alone." "Where's Dante?" Arya demanded. Fighting his way through the facility. Heroically. Predictably. Silas stood, moved closer to Finn. The baby's cries intensified. It's fascinating, really. How easily manipulated he is. Tell him someone he loves is in danger, and he charges in without thinking. Just like his father. "Don't touch my son." "Our son, technically. I'm his great-uncle, after all." Silas smiled. "Has Dante told you about me? About how I'm his father's younger brother? How the throne should have been mine?" Arya's mind raced. Uncle. Dante's uncle. The one who'd supposedly died years ago in a border skirmish. You're supposed to be dead. A convenient fiction. Easier to build a rebellion when you're a ghost. Silas circled Finn's crib like a predator. "My brother stole everything from me. The throne, the respect, the legacy. And then he had the audacity to be a good king, making it impossible to challenge him. So I waited. Planned. And when the time was right, I poisoned him and his mate." Horror crashed through Arya. "You killed Dante's parents. I freed the kingdom from weak leadership. My brother was soft, diplomatic, willing to compromise with lesser packs. I would have made us strong. Made us feared." His expression hardened. But the council gave the crown to his son instead. To a 19-year-old boy playing at being king. And I've spent a decade waiting for my chance to take what's mine. By murdering children? Arya moved closer, her power building. By enslaving wolves and starting wars? By erasing Dante's legacy completely. No heirs. No mate. No kingdom to rule when I'm done. Silas picked up Finn, and Arya's world stopped. This child represents everything I should have had. Everything that was stolen from me. So yes, I'll murder him. I'll murder both twins. And then I'll murder Dante and take the throne that's rightfully mine. Put him down. Make me. Arya's power exploded outward. Silver light filled the chamber, and every enchained wolf gasped as the mental controls shattered. Freedom crashed through them like a wave, and they stumbled, confused but awake. "Kill her," Silas commanded. None of them moved. "I said kill her. They can't hear you anymore." Arya's voice echoed with power. "You don't control them. You never really did. You just broke them and called it loyalty. The freed wolves looked at each other, at Silas, at Arya. And one by one, they knelt. Luna Queen, the nearest one whispered. You freed us. Then help me save my son. They moved as one, surrounding Silas. He backed toward the wall, Finn still in his arms, desperation replacing confidence. You think this changes anything? He snarled. I still have the child. One wrong move and I snap his neck. Dante crashed through the ceiling. He'd torn through the facility above, brought the entire structure down around them to get here. Now he stood between Arya and Silas, covered in blood and debris, his alpha power radiating like a furnace. Uncle. The word was poison. Let me tell you how this ends. Dante. Silas smiled, but it was fractured. So good of you to join us. Just in time to watch your son die. You won't hurt him. Dante moved forward, each step measured. Because if you do, I'll make sure your death takes days. Weeks. I'll keep you alive and screaming until you beg me to end it. And then I'll keep going. Big words from a king who couldn't even protect his parents. Dante moved faster than thought. One moment he was 10 feet away, the next his hand was around Silas's throat, claws extended. Give me my son. Silas's grip on Finn loosened. Arya darted in, snatched her baby, and retreated. Finn wailed in her arms, but he was alive. Whole. Safe. Now, Dante said quietly, let's discuss your crimes. The fight was brutal and short. Silas was strong, well-trained, desperate. But Dante was an alpha king protecting his family, and that made him unstoppable. He broke Silas's arm, his leg, his jaw. Reduced his uncle to a broken thing on the floor. And then he stopped. You killed my parents, Dante said. Tried to kill my mate. Tried to kill my children. You deserve death 1,000 times over. Then do it, Silas spat blood. Kill me and prove you're just like me. I'm nothing like you. Dante looked at Arya, at Finn safe in her arms, at the freed wolves surrounding them. I choose mercy. Exile beyond the kingdom borders. You live, but you leave. And if you ever return, if you ever threaten my family again, there will be no mercy left. You're weak. I'm a father. There's a difference. Slow clapping echoed through the chamber. Seraphina Ashwood stepped from the shadows, dressed in traveling clothes, her expression triumphant. How touching, she said. The merciful king spares his treacherous uncle. Very heroic. Very stupid. Dante's eyes narrowed. Seraphina. What are you doing here? Finishing what we started. She moved closer, and Arya noticed the swell of her stomach. Pregnant. Maybe 4 months along. Surprise, darling. Remember that night 6 months ago? Before your little Omega showed up. We spent some quality time together, you and I. And now I'm carrying your true heir. The words hung in the air like poison. Arya felt Dante's shock through their bond, his confusion. But beneath it, certainty. He didn't remember sleeping with Seraphina. Didn't remember anything that would have resulted in pregnancy. You're lying, Arya said. Am I? Seraphina's smile was razor-sharp. The timeline works. I'm 4 months pregnant, exactly the right timing for conception during the Harvest Moon Ball. Before Dante was drugged, before he bonded with you. This child is legitimate. Pure royal blood, not tainted by whatever gutter Omega bloodline you carry. Prove it, Dante demanded. I don't have to prove anything. The child will prove itself when it's born. When the court sees another heir, a legitimate one born from the woman Dante was supposed to marry, she paused for effect. They'll demand a choice. You're Omega's bastards or my pure-blooded heir. And we both know which one the kingdom will choose. Arya's spirit wolf power stirred. There was something wrong about Serafina's words. Not just the lie, though it was a lie, Arya could feel that clearly now, but something deeper. Something that tasted like the same oily wrongness that had controlled the enslaved wolves. "Let me see," Arya said. "See what?" "The truth." Arya stepped forward, her power building. Silver light gathered around her hands. "You say you're pregnant with Dante's child. Then you won't mind if I verify that. Don't touch me." Arya touched Serafina's stomach, and the world exploded with truth. Images flooded through her. Serafina and Silas, months before the Harvest Moon Ball, planning. Scheming. The drugs they'd give Dante, the timing they'd arrange. How Serafina would seduce him while he was helpless, force a bonding, secure the throne. But then Mara had made a mistake, led Dante to Arya instead. And the plan had fallen apart. So they'd made a new plan. Serafina would get pregnant, not by Dante, but by Silas. Would claim the child was Dante's. Would use it to cast doubt on Arya's position, on the twins' legitimacy. Would tear the kingdom apart from within while Silas built his army outside. And if that failed, they'd kill everyone who stood in their way. "The baby is Silas's," Arya said quietly. "You've been sleeping with him for months. Planning this coup together. You weren't just his ally, you were his lover." Serafina's face went white. "You can't prove." "I don't have to." Arya's power flared, and suddenly everyone in the chamber could see what she'd seen. The truth projected like a film, undeniable and damning. "Your child carries Silas's bloodline, not Dante's. And everyone here knows it now." The freed wolves backed away from Serafina, their expressions disgusted. She'd betrayed them all. Betrayed the kingdom. Betrayed everything she'd claimed to stand for. "You bitch," Serafina snarled. "You've ruined everything." "No. You did that yourself." Dante's voice was ice. "Guards. Take them both. Exile. Immediate." "You can't." "I can. I am. You conspired with a traitor to murder my family, manipulate my kingdom, and steal my throne. Exile is more mercy than you deserve." He looked at Silas, still broken on the floor. "Both of you. Beyond the borders. You have 12 hours to be gone from my kingdom. After that, anyone who sees you has permission to kill you on sight. The council will never allow." "The council," Marcus's voice echoed from the entrance, "has just seen proof of your treason broadcast to every screen in the kingdom." Arya turned. Marcus stood at the chamber entrance, holding a tablet. On it, the live stream counter was climbing. Millions of viewers. Every wolf in the kingdom had just seen the truth. "Your spirit wolf power amplified the projection," Marcus explained. "Every device tuned to the royal frequency picked it up. The whole kingdom knows what you did." Serafina's face crumbled. All her plans, all her schemes, destroyed in moments. She and Silas were led away by guards, both broken in different ways. Exiled. Disgraced. Erased from the kingdom they tried to steal. Good riddance. Arya collapsed against Dante, exhaustion crashing through her. Finn cried in her arms, and she soothed him automatically, her body running on instinct while her mind tried to process everything. "It's over," Dante said quietly, holding them both. "It's really over." "Is it?" Arya looked at the freed wolves, at the destroyed facility, at the evidence of how close they'd come to losing everything. "What happens now?" "Now we go home. We heal. We rebuild." He kissed her forehead. "Together." 6 months later. Arya stood in the great hall, wearing a crown that still felt foreign and a dress that cost more than her old life. The ceremony had lasted 3 hours, ancient rites, formal oaths, the presentation of the Luna Queen to her kingdom. Now it was finally over, and she could breathe. "You did beautifully," Dante said, appearing at her side with two squirming one-year-olds. Kale and Finn had grown impossibly fast, were already walking and getting into everything. Their power was developing too. Yesterday Kale had accidentally commanded a guard to stand on his head, and Finn had made all the lights in their nursery change colors based on his mood. They were going to be a handful. Arya wouldn't have it any other way. "I messed up the third oath," she said. "No one noticed." "You noticed. I notice everything about you." He kissed her, gentle and sure, while their sons giggled. "It's part of the mate bond. Also part of being hopelessly in love with you." "Hopelessly?" "Completely. Utterly. Embarrassingly." He grinned. "Ask anyone in court. I'm pathetic. You're the alpha king. I'm your mate first. King second." He set the twins down, let them toddle toward the garden doors. "Speaking of which, I have something to tell you." Arya's hand went to her stomach. The slight swell there that only Dante had noticed so far. "I was going to tell you tonight." "I know. I can smell it. Another child." His expression softened. "Are you happy? Terrified? Exhausted? Completely overwhelmed?" She smiled. "And yes. So happy I can't even put it into words." This pregnancy was different. Planned. Wanted. No drugs, no force, no fear. Just two people who'd chosen each other, building a family deliberately. Boy or girl this time? Girl. "I can feel it." Arya leaned into him. "We should tell the twins. They'll need to prepare for a little sister. They can barely prepare for breakfast." True. They followed their sons into the garden. It had been 6 months since Silas and Seraphina's exile. 6 months of rebuilding, of reforming the council, of rooting out corruption and establishing new alliances. The kingdom was healing, slowly but surely. And Arya had found her place in it. Not as a captive or a political pawn, but as Luna Queen. As a spirit wolf whose power helped mediate disputes, break harmful bonds, bring peace where there'd been only war. As a mother raising children who'd change the world, hopefully for the better. As Dante's mate. Not because she had to be, but because she'd fallen in love with the man beneath the crown. The father who played with his sons in the garden. The king who put family above politics. The mate who'd been willing to die to free her. She'd chosen to stay. Chosen to fight. Chosen to build something beautiful from the chaos. And she'd never regretted it. "Race you to the fountain," Kale announced, already running. "No fair." Finn chased after him, his little legs pumping. Dante and Arya followed at a more sedate pace, content to watch their sons play. The prophecy still hung over them: the twins would unite the packs or destroy them. But Arya refused to let fear dictate their lives. They'd face the future when it came. Together. For now, this was enough. This garden, this family, this love they'd built from nothing. "I need to check something," Dante said suddenly, his body tensing. "Marcus just sent a priority alert." "Go. I'll watch the boys." He kissed her once more and disappeared into the palace. Arya settled on a bench, watching Kale and Finn splash in the fountain, their laughter echoing through the garden. Perfect. This moment was perfect. She didn't see the figure watching from the garden wall. Didn't notice the way shadows moved wrong, gathering with purpose. Didn't feel the eyes studying her sons with interest that went beyond curiosity. The figure watched for another moment, then melted back into darkness. The prophecy awakens, they whispered to the wind. And the real game begins. Far away, in a castle beyond any kingdom's borders, an old wolf opened ancient eyes. "The sovereign twins have reached their first year," she said to the darkness. "The convergence approaches. Soon, we'll see if they're saviors or destroyers." "And if they're destroyers?" her companion asked. Then we'll do what we've always done. The old wolf smiled, showing too many teeth. We'll make sure they destroy the right things. Back in the garden, Arya felt a chill run down her spine. She pulled Finn and Kale closer, suddenly uneasy. What's wrong, Mama? Kale asked. Nothing, sweetheart. She kissed his forehead, pushed down the fear. Nothing at all. But as they walked back to the palace, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching. Waiting. The prophecy wasn't complete yet. And somewhere in the shadows, forces far older than the kingdom were already moving their pieces into place. The game was just beginning. The end. Thank you for listening to this story. Like, share and subscribe for more.